Yo, what's up, everyone? Hello. What? What? Let me just reconnect my cam. What's up, folks? Hello. Nice to see you. Wow, I'm just stuck or what? Mm, let me see. Um, what's up, folks? Give me 1 second, okay? I'm just stuck. Okay. You know what? Let's just let's do it with this. I know my quality is not that great. I don't know why my camera is not connecting, but welcome, folks. Welcome to the stream. This is, of course, the first one of the year. So happy to see you all here. Now, I'm going to get started in just a bit. I'm going to wait for a couple questions to start rolling in, but also a few more folks to join. Okay. Now, here's the scene. I felt a little cringe calling it design career counseling, but I just wanted to be direct, right? And then in the brackets, refresh and reconnect, which is actually what this is all about, right? So, start of the year, we want to start on a good note. Let's have a connection today. Let's talk about some stuff. Um, you know, See where this goes. Now, meanwhile, I'm gonna I'm gonna get my cam back up, my camera. Hmm. What's up? My light is also flickering. Give me 1 sec, guys. Okay. BRB. Let's get some AC going as well. So, folks, welcome to welcome Atik. What's up? Hey, Mayuresh. Hello, Rida. Cosmos. What's up? Hi, Sajal. Vidya. What's up? Hello. Hey, Aditya. Hello, Devanshi. Sup, Ananya. Yo, Amritansh. What's up? So, folks, let me set some context, okay? Scene is we are now in 2025. Now, personally, for me, the last quarter, recapping, just thinking back, it was a lot of movement, okay? Let me just say that, which is um, I moved countries, got a new office, got a new apartment, wrapped up the previous cohort, did that event, Silicon Hully, first design thon, expanded the team. And by the end of December, I was exhausted, right? So December end, I was just like, man, I need to like refresh, recharge. But then as soon as December started going, and let me just say a little bit burnt out as well, right? So I was a bit burnt out in December, a lot of stuff happening. And one thing I realized was one of my reasons for burnout was also I was not able to connect in the sense that although moved back to Bangalore and I've just been trying to run, just being yeah. So what was I saying? Yeah, I was a little burnt out, and the main reason that I also realized was connection, right, or lack of connection. Let's just say, because although coming back to Bangalore, I tried to just not. I was just running, 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 doing all this, but then I a little bit felt like an outsider in Bangalore itself, right? Although it's kind of home for me. I first moved to Bangalore in 2003, did all my schooling in Bangalore, so Bangalore is kind of home. But then I felt like I was an outsider, like a little bit feeling disconnected. And the team was also on leave, right? People to talk with, they're also on leave. So, anyway, what I realized was my kind of goal, or rather, my next big challenge into 2025, right? Let me talk a little bit about me. like 3 minutes, and then I'm waiting for your questions, right? We're gonna break some stuff apart, and I'm also gonna tell you the overall theme, okay? My goal for 2025 is connection and wonder. Two keywords for me, right? Connection, number one. What it is all going to be all about is, now that I'm back into my home city, Bangalore, how can I connect with people in a much better way? Right? Personally, last 4 years, I've a little bit been off the grid. Right? I'm like used to being alone and stuff. Like I'm having like massive social anxiety and all, just like not used to stuff. So for me, connection is a big one. That's something I'm going to be working on. Trying to put myself in those scenarios, use even this office as a way to, bring increased connection to the cohort, between you guys, between mentors, between alumni, all of that. Connection is one of my themes. The second theme is wonder. The reason wonder is a big theme for me this 2025 is I realized that having spent 11 years as a designer, I started feeling a little bit jaded. Like, in the sense that I started feeling a little bit like, bro, यही तो है, मतलब यही तो करना है, like, oh, अब website बनाएंगे, app. Like, I little bit lost that sense of wonder, right? Like, oh, about the possibilities, what's possible, or like, oh, what's new, what's happening. Like, I lost that sense of wonder a little bit. And, I thought with AI and all of this, the wonder would come back. But then what actually ended up happening was I started getting even more bogged down by it. I was like, fuck, bro, this AI, like, I don't have the time to explore these tools. I'm not doing this. Like, I don't know what's true, what's not. And so, anyway, it was not useful. It was not productive. And so, one thing I realized that this is something I want to bring back for myself. I don't know where I lost it. Maybe it's just a temporary thing. But wonder, it's so awesome that we all get to do this as, like, literally have a creative career. Let's assume most of you guys, or some of you still figuring it out. Good, right? You kind of see the importance. I think we're lucky to be able to pursue creative careers. And what we should not forget about is that it's not just a job, right? Yeah, there is the job aspect of it, which is we're doing work for companies, for clients. We're making our living, of course. But there's an equal part, like there needs to be a lot of wonder in this mix, which is, like, for me, like, being in a creative role, if I know, see, here's also the thing, right? If I'm doing a project and I know 100% how that project is going to go, there's zero sense of wonder, because I'm like, it's just a series of steps to be repeated, right? One of the reasons I would probably not do well in a, let's just say, non-creative job is I need some novelty, I need some excitement, right? And I need some wonder, like what will happen, like what am I going to do, like some uncertainty, some masala. And with design, the better I got at design, the more predictable it started getting to me, right? And so I kind of lost that sense of wonder a little bit, and I've been able to bring it back. So, for example, those of you who watch the streams, right? If you just go to YouTube, go to the live stream page, there's a time when I was doing some HCI related streams, going through papers, and so this is a seasonal thing for me, right? Not seasonal, let's say cyclical. I get too used to it, it becomes too predictable, and then I lose all sense of wonder. It starts feeling like a chore. And then I'm like, man, this sucks. And then I have to figure out, okay, let's bring back some of that wonder. Let's look at the world not as, oh man, it's a thing to be done, but like, oh, what's the possibilities? What can I do? And when I think back, the whole reason I got into design was just there was so much wonder. Like I wonder what the next popular app is going to look like. I wonder why people's behaviors are changing because of these apps. Like, I wonder why me and my friends were all into, and personally for me also, crypto was a very interesting thing, right? Web3 has so much wonder. I mean, it also has a lot of other stuff like scams and all this, but Web3 for me, the reason I'm so attracted to it is it's just that sense of wonder. Like, I don't know everything, and that makes me feel awesome. But the minute the other side of it is I don't know anything, and fuck, I'm an idiot for not knowing anything, right? And so there's the negative loop of, fuck, I don't know anything. Every single thing feels like a chore, and then I have so much to figure out, and cut. And the other is, well, I don't know anything, which means I don't have to be afraid of making mistakes, which means I can keep figuring things out, which means I can have a sense of grace. Like, I can say to myself, it's okay, you're still figuring things out. and you look forward to things, right? So that's wonder. So that's what I'm trying to do. Yeah. What's up, Shivani? Still waiting for another cohort? Shivani, we have like 1 week left for this cohort applications to end. Like literally, I think 1 week left. We're almost closed. 18th is the first class. So definitely, I would say check that out. This is actually a good time. Hmm. Okay. So question from Jaspreet. Any plans to do an in-person cohort? Now see, Jaspreet, personally for me, I would love to, but then I feel scared. I'll be honest, okay? Like to me, an in-person cohort would be a new project, right? So just making it very relatable. It would be a new project. I'm excited about the possibilities, what will happen, how is it going to be. But then I'm also a little scared because I've never done it before. And I kind of, what I'm also scared of is I don't want to become, like, I don't want it to have this coaching center vibes of control. You know how typical Indian education system or coaching, it's like there's this top down authority and it's like, do what I say. And like, and this feeling of control where you don't want to, you're showing up to classes not with a sense of wonder, like, oh, I wonder what we're going to do today. Like, I wonder what I'm going to make today. But you show up with this, oh man, I have to show up because my parents paid for this. And like, I don't want it to become coaching center. Right? That's my fear. And I don't, the thing is, it's not that I will make it coaching center. It's like, if I don't know how to do it properly, the default will be a bad experience, right? That's what I'm scared of. So what's the solution, right? Like all the time, as creatives, we come up with these ideas, like we want to do new projects, but there is always this fear of, you could say, failure. It doesn't work out. But then what's the solution, right? We have to do new stuff. That's how we grow. That's how we learn. Firstly, cohort 10, we're going to have some in-person stuff. So now that we have this office, we're going to do some sessions, some guest sessions, things like that. And so Saturdays for us, we'll do some stuff. Alumni as well. Just today, I was designing the system for how do we invite alumni to the space? Can we do some co-working kind of thing? So I'm figuring that system out. Alumni in person. I'm figuring new cohort 10 in person, right? But 100% in person cohort, don't know. But plans are to experiment, right? So for this year, we have this office. We want to experiment what's the right way to do it. And I'll be a little honest, guys. Like, I feel like this Bangalore culture is like move fast, break things, figure things out. I've been a little bit disconnected from that culture for a while, right? Like living in Europe. In Europe, the culture is a little bit like, oh my God, like it's a little bit more conservative. It's a little bit more play it safe, right? It's a little bit slower. So I am adjusting my approach accordingly. But those says, can other cohort people also come offline? Yeah, alumni will be invited. So I'm figuring something out for that. Um, for sure. Okay, folks. So let's do some questions, okay? I'm going to start here. Aditya says, I'm 21, learning UI UX since 1 year and done only one website revamp. How to find more project? Now, Aditya, what I will tell you is if you're 21, maybe you're in college or around that time, how to find more project? I'll show you, bro. Let me show you a project. Okay. You want to do an app? You want to do a website? Batao. Let me know in the chat. What do you want to do? I'll give you some ideas right now on stream. Mm, let's see this. Array. One sec. I'll show you some stuff. But let me know in the chat, Aditya, what kind of project you want to do, bro? I'll give you some ideas. Meanwhile, let me just set this up. Oh my God. What's happening today? Figma. Okay. So the question was, what kind of project should I do? You done website revamp. My suggestion, Aditya, since you're in the zone of websites, I would say do more websites. In terms of skills, I would say get really good at Figma, get good at Framer. Now, again, I'm not saying specifically you need to do Framer. My suggestion, do Framer. Framer is just the popular one. You could use Wix Studio, you could use Webflow. Personally, I would say Framer is the hot one right now. Wix Studio, I'm actually working on it. It's an interesting one. Just do that. In terms of briefs, now these are just the previous cohorts briefs that I'm just showing you. But I think what's important is Figma, you should be able to do it, but then it would be a good idea if you can push things in Framer, right? Because then instead of sharing a Figma link, what you can do is you can share an actual live project, right? So Framer, Webflow, I don't know, Wix Studio. Here's some possible briefs, okay? Let's say consumer tech. One pager for an app. Right now, find some interesting app out there that doesn't have a good website, design a website for them. Um, Marketplaces, right? Marketplaces are always interesting, which is, my suggestion also. I don't know if I have a good example here. AI apps, right? There are a lot of AI apps out there, or new AI apps being built. Can you create a good so all these are just landing pages, right? These are just landing pages. So I would say keep your eye out for something interesting that you can work on. Give yourself some time and do it. Other than that, you can also probably take a look at if you've only done one website revamp, I would say you need to do your second and third website revamp, right? To be very direct, I would say repetition builds that familiarity of skill. So yeah, do that. Hmm. ललित says आपको हमने कभी डिजाइन करते हुए नहीं देखा. सैड बात है ब्रो. um, I think I used to do the streams where I used to design, but then I realized they used to get very long. Like I have these old streams, 3 hours long, where I'm just doing it. But then for me, design, like I don't just sit down and do it, right? Like I sit down 1 hour, take a break, 2 hours, take a break. So I've not actually been able to show a proper design process, or rather a whole thing, because I'm not going to sit down and 8 hours one shot, right? In fact, I do that sometimes, but then not always. And it just, they get very slow, these kind of sessions. So kiye to hain pehle, not so good, not so interesting. But yeah. Other thing is also, I am now, a little bit, I'm a founder now, right? So I have to spend a lot of my time working on the business rather than just design. So for example, I've got 3 designers on my team. So a lot of things, as a somebody running a business, it's just better to just give it off, like have my team do it. But I am aware of this, bro. And personally, I really want to get back into hands-on designing. So I am going to do something this year that brings that back. Yeah. Yeah. Design with me sessions. The problem is, right, I'm at a place now where I am not, I'm not an individual designer, right? Like I work on everything with my team because we just work together. So design with me sessions, it would not, I can do a concept one, but then concept mein kya maza, right? There needs to be something real about it. Mm. Good idea though. Let me think about this. Yeah. What's up, Gayan? Working on case study assignment 3, posting journey on Twitter, newsletters posting, hit 5 I can't edit tweets. Yeah, bro. Case study assignment 3, that must be the app that you worked on. The AI app. Forgetting the name of it. It's the product reviews one, right? Product discovery. Looking forward to it, bro. My suggestion, Gayan, is do post like visuals, right? Medium, like visuals, like either just screenshots or like mock-ups where you're scrolling through or some interaction. I think the problem with doing case studies is it just, the pressure is so high because you're creating a long form piece of content. Yeah. Hmm. What's up, Mahendran? Yo. Web. Okay. Question from Piyush. How can I get the most out of my internship for the role of UI UX designer? Company makes product based on SaaS. So, Piyush, let's assume you have a 3 to 6 month internship. Typical. My suggestion for internship, how can you make the most? The first big suggestion I would give is your connection to the founders or your head of design, right? I think a very important thing to work on is your connection with the person you're reporting to. If it's a small stage, maybe it's just the founder. The thing is, as a designer, it's very comfortable to come to work, essay headphones on, come to work, sit down, open coffee, start working, and just like be in the zone, right? That's comfortable. That's like a little bit introvert comfort zone. Point is, in an internship, yeah, you have to do a lot of heads down work, but then the see, I don't know what stage of the internship, right? If you're in the middle or just about to start with internships, my suggestion, yeah, you will do the work, but really focus a good 30 to 40% of your time making connections, right? And what do I mean by connections? Not some kind of like, oh, networking karte hain, bro. Like curiosity. The people in your company, what do they do? I want you to approach it with a sense of wonder that there is this company, they've hired me as an intern. There are like what, 5, 6, 10, 50, I don't know how many people. There's a bunch of people. They're all working individually, but they're working like a machine together to create this thing, which is the SaaS product that people use. Now, what you should do to make the most out of it is find out how this is happening. This overall machine, right? As a user, when we use a SaaS product, we only get to see the views, the flows, work on some stuff, how we get to use it as a consumer. But your curiosity should be, how does the SaaS company operate? Who does what? How do things happen? Like, how do you decide what to build? Who takes decisions? What does a product manager do? What do they rarely do? What do they do a lot? What does the developer do? Right? What does the front end dev do? What does the back end dev do? Or like, what's the most interesting part about the job for them? I'm just giving you some ideas. But what I'm trying to say is it's a lot about connection. And connection comes from this place of wonder and curiosity. Ki hota kya hai? Like now that I finally, right? For a lot of people, let me put this in context, right? For a lot of folks into design, it's like a mystery how companies operate. But then the how do you not make the most out of it? Sometimes people have the mystery how companies operate. They want to get into an internship, whatever. They get into the internship and वो खुश हो जाते हैं, like, oh, I finally got an internship, finally पैसे आ रहे हैं, comfortable. But guys, actually the real work starts once you get it, right? So that's the context for this. Once you're in, you need to be a sponge. You need to be absorbing, learning. And I'm not saying do this mere liye. Find out for yourself, what is this place of curiosity and wonder. When your internship is over, you might never work for a SaaS company again. Maybe, right? You might go to a B2C company, you might join an agency, or you might go to a bigger company and you might never work at that small company again. So, this limited time that you have, can I use this to develop an understanding, and not solo understanding as a bad ke pad rahe hain, right? How can I talk to people, go with them on, their sutta break, don't smoke, don't develop a smoking habit. Go with them for lunch, ask them what they do, ask them, the thing is, you might be like stupid questions, या मैं कौन होता हूँ पूछने वाला, और confidential information नहीं बताते, but people like answering questions, right? And so one way you can also think about it is ask them how questions. How do you do this? How did you decide to do this feature? And they might say they don't know, but at least they will try to attempt it. Or what is that? What is this person's job? What is this? Like, ask how and what questions, right? You could also ask why questions, going deep into detail, but how and what questions a little bit more practical. Makes sense. Yeah. You want to make use of it, of this time. That's really useful. That's really useful. I hope that was useful. I mean, I hope that gave you something to think about. Piyush, make connections, bro. And I don't mean connections as in chaplusi type, like networking, just general. Ask questions, be curious, be known as the person who just has so many questions because you're curious about it. Practical this thing, if you want to get a full-time job, usually people want to hire people who are interested. How do you show interest? You actually ask questions and stuff. But then even if you don't want to work at this place, even if it's not about a full-time job for you, the next company you join, you should be, here's what happens, okay? You're doing your internship. The second company you join, you will now have data points. You will be able to compare company one versus company two. That's really valuable, bro. That's really valuable. When you're not working in a company, you only get to see these companies as users, as outsiders. But when you're in, you get to see so much stuff about how processes happen, who does what, how decisions are made, why certain things are done that way, right? And so point I'm saying is when you get your second role, maybe the next internship or next full time, you will be able to compare. But then if you weren't curious and you just came every single day, bat ke, 6 hours and then go home, then you have no data points. And then so the second company you get will feel like your first company because you don't have anything to compare it against, right? In fact, this is a little bit what I feel is the problem with remote, which is you can get very disconnected. And if you're disconnected, then it's a very half experience, right? So if you're remote, of course, do this in different ways, right? Try to set up calls. Unfortunately, that's the only way or one of the only ways. But yeah. Okay, wow. I have some awesome questions coming in. I'm going to go through. So that's how you make the most of your internship, guys. Okay. What's up, Vidya? BCA student, okay. Freelance YouTube thumbnail design, work with edtech creators. Awesome. What's the question though? Keep doing it. Keep doing it if you're good at it. And put it all together into one website where you create a showcase of your work. Think about it this way. You go to buy something, you go to a shop or something, they put it together all in a very nice way. They have a catalog of things you can buy. Can you do that for your own thing? Because if you've done all these projects, have a good portfolio that showcases this. That would be the next step, right? Okay. So Close to Nature says, I'm into branding and UI UX design last 5 months. How to crack the idea of design personal projects makes no sense because no one to review and stuff. It feels stuck. Now, I understand exactly what you're talking about, the theme of it. The thing is, design is one of those roles which it gets more satisfying the more connected you are. And it sounds very general. I'll be specific. If you have a company that really cares about their users, right? I don't mean user interviews necessarily, but they really care about their users. They learn about how they're using it. Yeah, maybe they do user research. They take feedback very seriously. If you're at that company, you feel very connected to the users and you feel like doing something good for them. I just giving examples of connection. I'll come back to this. Second, if you're in a company where the people are very interesting, right? Or the people are really good at what they do individually and together you're able to do so much. You feel the sense of connection, right? Like um, you feel like you're part of a machine or you're part of a squad or you're part of this army unit or whatever. You're doing your work individually and that something is happening. So that connection helps you stay motivated and um, removes doubt or fear or uncertainty usually. And then if you're in college, let's say, doing it and you have other friends who are doing it, you have a WhatsApp group where you guys share links, you share your work, this kind of thing. You feel connected because you feel like you're not the only one. Now, personally, what I can tell you here is the reason you might be stuck is because you're not able to connect, or maybe you've not thought to connect, or you've tried it in the past and it's not worked out. And so you are having to put in a lot of effort just to stay motivated, just to do something. And then even after that, you don't have anybody to celebrate it with. So it doesn't feel like it's complete. And so it kind of keeps going. Right. So that's my guess, at least, what's happening. My suggestion connections. Try to figure out what are some connections practically you could make within a week or two, within the next week or two, right? Which is, if you have friends who are also doing design, create a WhatsApp group or DM them and say, hey, I am starting a challenge where I want to stay accountable. Does anybody want to create a WhatsApp? Now, that sounds like a stupid thing. Maybe not. It sounds like a cliche thing. But point is, it's an excuse to connect, right? Or even if you don't want to do the group thing, that's like sounds too scary. I want you to call someone who is a designer and ask them, what did you work on last year? Can you share something? I'm feeling lost. Or if you don't have somebody like that, I would say go to ADP list, and book a call with a designer that looks interesting and say, hey, can you walk me through one of your most interesting projects from last year? The reason why is because that, now it's not exactly they'll tell you something crazy and then it'll this thing, but you'll just feel that sense of connection that, hey, everybody goes through this stuff. And then it might give you some idea of what to work on next, right? So that's my suggestion. I'm going to read more messages from you, maybe some more context and stuff. But yeah, guys, what I am feeling is we need to do a call version of this, right? Like I feel like I am able to somewhat talk about it, but then we need to do a call version of it where you can actually talk about this. But then I don't know. Okay, I'll think about that. Book suggestion to improve taste as a designer. Um, I'm not so sure, but I would say what. So let's say designer. The thing is, books. I would say if you're really talking about taste, the books that will help would be coffee table books, right? Like really beautiful work in like full pictures that you can actually see, and you have this on your desk and you see it every once in a while. That would be it. But improving taste is not something you learn by reading generally, right? You learn it by, we talked a lot in the previous stream about, but improving taste is, I mean, something underrated. I love coffee table books, right? Like books that just have pictures that I can have over there on my desk or something. And every once in a while, I'm like just waiting on a call or something. I just go through it. Um, that short answer. Yeah. First assignment was the best one. Now, Vamshi, when you say first assignment, we're talking about the website assignment, right? We're talking about the Figma warm up because that's not so good. Figma warm up. Okay, I'm going one by one. Okay, guys, I'll really come to your questions. I'll try to. Sarthak says, how should I work with a startup if founders are not aligned with design, but they need design to keep building pages, but they definitely don't have taste. They keep paying though. My suggestion. See, the question I'll ask you is, what's the problem? What's the problem with that, right? Um, if I had to guess, the problem is you feel like you're not able to do, like you feel like there is not an emphasis on quality, right? You have to just keep doing stuff. How long should I work? See, I would say this is a very selfish thing you need to think about, which is they are right now paying you to do work. But the work that you're doing, selfishly, I want you to think about, can I build enough of a portfolio, so to say? And when I say portfolio, what I'm just saying is, let's say you've done 10 pages for them. Now, out of these 10, maybe two are really, really good according to you, but the rest are okay. Firstly, even if they don't have taste, it's still your job to expand their mind of possibilities, right? Maybe the reason they're going with the safe option is because they're scared of the risk. They're like, what if this takes too long? Personally, I don't know if I'll be able to help. And so let's take the safe option and let's just do this, right? I would say, I think you should definitely push for, how can I keep things spicy? How can I do something new? How can I do something slightly risky in terms of design? And I know they might say, oh, nahi, ye nahi kar sakte, nahi kar, but push for it, right? Like at least try. have a couple variations where you're like, yeah, this is the safe option, this is the risky one. How long should you work though? I would say as long as it takes to build the confidence that the work that you've done here, you can transfer it to the next one. Like you can do it again. So what that might practically mean is you start doing maybe some freelance on the side. I don't know. It might mean, see, I would say if the work is good, pay is good, people are kind of good, you can probably spend at least a year there, maybe. And the taste thing, try to figure out what the problem is, what exactly is missing, and can you do stuff outside your job to fill that, right? So, what that might mean is doing a solo project, something that you want to do to actually push this stuff. Um, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Because in the end, this happens, right? This does happen. The reason founders, a lot of times they're hiring you is because they want you to be the one who tells them what's good design, what's not. And if you don't exercise that freedom that you've been given, that bro, figure it out, eventually the founders take back control and they're like, let's do the safe thing because at least the safe thing works, right? So keep that attitude, bro. Can I do new stuff? Can I push that? But overall, selfishly, can I use this work to get me more work in the future? When you feel like you have enough to be able to do it, start looking out. Or another thing that does happen, now I'm going to edge cases, but if your company is growing and they might hire a head of design or new designers soon, there's a chance within a year that might change, right? The culture. So some things to think about. Yeah. Sagar says, do concept works, right? So not real projects, but like fake projects fetch you more work and opportunities than real work. Now the thing is, Sagar, work is work, right? So honestly, I don't want to take a side, like like concept work versus real work. The point is, I have hired for both, right? I've seen both and I've hired for both. The balanced POV on this is that a lot of client work is not sexy. There's no novelty in it. There's no wow. And so when you have boring work, you can feel limited because you're like, I've done everything. I was successful. But when I show this to somebody outside, they look at this and they have no idea. They're like, what is this? And so if you're in that zone, yeah, you need some concept work just to show that I can also do this. Here's the thing, right? Sagar, as well as the previous one, we're talking to Sarthak, which is you might, let's say you spent a couple months, a year or more at a company. You might have a lot of your work in a very specific area. So for example, you might have all dashboards that you're doing, right? But then you're like, hey, I'm not ready to accept that I'm a dashboard guy. I can do a lot more. But maybe the real work does not look sexy. So what then you want to do is you want to say, okay, I'm going to do something to extend my range of what I can do, right? And so that might be some concept work. Does it fetch more work than real work? Here's the thing, right? um, as a f- as somebody who's hiring designers, they want to know that you can do, cool stuff, right? Of course, solve the problems, design the screens that you want, but they want, in the end, design. It's the perception, right? Like a lot of users will see this and a lot of decisions. Let me get specific. Okay, concept works are a great way to flex your skills. If your job allows you to flex your skills and you're doing really good work in your job, you don't need concept works, right? So just this will get you more work. But if your job is kind of boring, you're not doing very interesting stuff, right? It's challenging, good colleagues, but you look at the design by itself and you're like, an outsider would look at this and they would not be excited by this. And so you're like, I don't want this to decide the kind of work I'll get. So then you have to do some concept work. And so that's the balanced POV on this. Question from Pratik. Learning UX design right now, and I don't like the idea of doing research and interviews. I like designing and also seeing it come to life. Should I focus more on designing and building UI than UX stuff? See, Pratik, I'll tell you this. If you're working in a team, very likely that You will have other people who are doing some stuff, right? So I would say learn it if you're already doing that. But if you want your focus to be more visuals and UI stuff, go for it, right? As long as that's good, as long as you're able to do good volume of work, such that you have a good, so that you build your skills and then you have a portfolio of it. So yeah, totally okay to focus on this. Here's also the thing, right? Your design career is long. So for example, me, I've spent 11 years designing. I didn't really do UX. Like, I did a little bit of UX, but I never did research and interviews till year 3 as a designer. I just never needed to. A lot of my freelance stuff was mostly UI or a lot of apps. And yeah, there was UX design patterns and things like that, but I didn't need to do research. And so I learned it a little bit late. So Pratik, I will say this, right? It kind of feels like, oh, I should know everything. But really, like, your design shelf life is long. You can learn it later. What's important is you do pick something and do it, right? Put in the work. Totally okay if you do it later. And just to give you an example, when I was early in my career, I decided I don't like doing dashboards. And so I'm not going to do B2B. Now, did this affect my career outcomes? Well, I probably did not get any B2B jobs because of this. But then the rest of the time I spent it in apps, right? Went really deep into prototyping, doing work. And so that was a good enough strength that I could only apply to those kind of jobs. And I was okay leaving it out, right? Like even now, B2B, not really my strength. I've done dashboards, but it was so past in the past, right? So it's okay. It's okay to pick a interest, but then go deep in that. Yo, BB. Working in a consulting firm, interested in design and creative fields, learning design fundamentals in Figma, planning on getting into UI UX. How do I document my learnings? My question to you, why do you need to document your learnings? What's the reason behind it? I really wish this was a call if I could just ask you. What's the reason behind it? If you're doing it for yourself, well, the only documentation you need is your Figma file, right? Have it sorted in order, add sticky notes, whatever, right? Basically, think of it this way. If a friend asks you, hey, bro, what have you been working on? And you've done something, you should be able to show the Figma file and walk through, and they should get some idea of it, right? If you're at a point where you've not started making hands on stuff yet, you've not made anything yet, there is nothing to document. You're still in the process. Keep going. You need to start documenting once you have work out there, right? Another way you might be thinking about this is case studies. Like, I need to document my work in the case studies. Not really. A case study is a story you tell about the project you did and how you navigated it, but with a lot of media and visual examples. A case study, you know, yeah, you could say it is documenting, but in the end, it's just telling the story of your work with appropriate visuals. So if you're not actually done hands-on project, don't bother documenting, right? Maybe you're doing it for yourself, maintain a diary, whatever. It's okay. But yeah, Tamid says, would it be a wise decision to focus solely on mobile app UI UX in 2025 as a freelance designer? Ooh, I don't think so. I don't think so because there are more clients that need websites than app. So unless you already have a really good portfolio of apps, and when I say apps, right, it's I don't mean just visual design. I mean a good amount of prototyping as well. I don't know if it's a wise idea to do so. Yeah, unless you already have a good collection of work that you've done in this field. Yo, what's up, Manav? 1 year of experience, UX designer. Okay, I want to get into freelancing as well. How do I position myself now as someone who knows some shit but also doesn't have presentable past freelance experience? Hmm. See, Manav, I would say when it comes to freelance, the big question is where do you get your clients from? That's actually the big one. Once you're able to figure out, the second question is how do I present my work, right? So the first question I want you to think about is where do I get my clients from? The second question I want you to think about is from the work that I've done, can I put together maybe 10 slides that include this? I'm not saying convince, right? I'm not saying make a sales kind of pitch, but can I put enough volume of work just to show that yes, I can do it? Because the rest of it, really, when it comes to freelancing, is really about the connection. You show your work, that gets you in the door. They're like, oh, they can do this kind of work. But beyond that, when you get on a discovery call with the client or you talk to them, they're trying to see if they can trust you. They're trying to see if you are a good communicator. They're trying to see if you have confidence. They're trying to see if you have the free time to do it. Right. So a lot of that is about connection, asking questions. So, how should you do this? I would say put together this slide deck of your work, and then as soon as possible, get yourself on a call or face to face with a real client, right? Because here's the thing, right? When we want to do new stuff, the problem is we can keep imagining, if I had a client, I would do this, and then what if, then what proposal will I send them? Okay, let me work on a proposal template, and then what would I do this? And then the thing is, don't stay stuck in a virtual world, right? Think about, like, actually put a deck together and go put yourself out there in reality, right? Like, try to actually get a call. And when I'm saying get a call, what I am saying is figure out where you're going to get your leads. Now, I have made a video on my channel dedicated to freelancing. You can check that out. But overall, I can tell you people who do it in person, for example, let's say they've got a good network in Bangalore or something, or they meet somebody who's like, I'm looking for a designer. Would you be available? That's the start. You found a client. You get on a call, you show your work, and then you ask questions. That's a discovery call. After the discovery call, you send them a proposal. And a proposal is what? It's just a Figma, I mean, it's just a Notion doc or something. But yeah, that's what I would suggest. Let me go through some more questions and I'll bring it up, okay? Just don't wanna mix this up. Sec. Mhm. Okay. Manav's thing was I have no specific channel sorted out yet where to get my clients from. Now I can tell you this. If you've not tried anything, try it all. So sign up for Upwork, make it through their process. Sign up for Fiverr, set up a really good profile. That will force you to also think about what can I actually show. Um, Contra. Now, Contra is a difficult marketplace to get into, but Contra, people use that. Outside of that, posting on Twitter, posting on LinkedIn. Now, these are all different things you can try. Now, I don't know which one will work, but then you gotta be trying stuff out, right? So don't start thinking about step 3, step 4, step 5 till you actually tried getting a client, right? Mm. I'm getting a lot of ideas for what our next stream should be, because what I'm realizing is chat is a very limited way to connect. And even links, if you guys are sharing links in the chat, I'm not able to see them because YouTube, I think, blocks it out. Okay, going in order. Next one. I got hired into this project way after the foundation was laid. Okay. After I joined, I directly started with designing. Now I'm confused what to include in the case study. Lalit, I'll simplify things for you. Okay. What you include is what you worked on. Simple as that. Now you might think, okay, but to explain that, what I worked on, I have to talk about all this past stuff, right? Not really. If you didn't work on that stuff, have one paragraph that says, oh, this is what the project was before I started. You want to give the minimum acceptable context such that they can be like, okay, ठीक है. What did you work on? So if you directly started designing, directly talk about what you started designing. Of course, the first thing you will talk about is what the company does. You can say, when I joined, this was the stage they were at. And by the time I finished, this is what it was. Now let me show you the details. The main thing I would suggest, right? I saw a related question to this, which is cookie cutter case studies, right? How do I avoid my case study from being. The thing is, we spend a lot of effort, but then if they end up looking templatized, it's not good. My suggestion, case studies, focus on as much as possible. Case studies need to be a show and tell, right? A lot of times with case studies, we want to write articles and we want to tell. Show and tell. If you really want to simplify things, show a screen you designed, talk one paragraph about the most interesting thing or most important thing about it. Second screen you designed, most important. Now, if you're like, okay, but if I need to talk about this screen, I talk about the 6 other screens. Okay, sure. Take a screenshot of the entire flow, screen 1, screen 2, screen 3. Put some sticky notes if you need to talk about a specific part of the screen, and then write one paragraph about this flow. The reason we worked on this was this. Or let's say you designed something, but it took you a lot of time to design it because the client just wasn't satisfied, right? Or the stakeholder. So you did 3, 4 iterations. Simple. Iteration number 1, iteration number 2, iteration number 3. Or skip the between ones, like one of the starting iterations, one of the middle iterations, one of the end ones. And talk about why did this win. And again, you can keep going on and on, right? There's no limit to it. But then you want to just describe the most important part about it. And remember this, guys. You want your case studies to have talking points and not just reveal everything. And when I say reveal, not secret, I'm saying you don't have to take this pressure on yourself that I need to talk about every single thing that I did. What you need to do is you need to talk about the 10%, 20% most interesting thing such that it's a reason to connect. So in an interview, what they will say, they will not, so they might say, go through your case study. Don't read your case study. Go through. What it just means is give us an overview. But ideally, you don't want to just lay everything out like 30. Here's the thing, right? You have gone through that depth, so you know all these details. But if I am reading it, I have like 10 minutes max. I don't want to know all this. I want to know the most interesting part such that when I eventually talk to you, I'll be like, bro, tell me more about this. Right? So, case studies, enough to get the client interested, enough to get the person interested in connecting with you and talking to you, right? Don't try to include every single thing. Here's also the point, right? Case studies are on the decline. And when I say on the decline, people don't read case studies in the sense that if I'm hiring for a designer, I'm going to try to hire somebody good enough as early as possible. So I'm not going to read through a lot of case studies, although I'm I want the other person to show me enough, right? Show and tell is a core part of case studies. Even if you don't talk about everything you've done, show enough to get the other person interested. The other thing I will strongly say about case studies, since a bunch of you have questions around that, have a call to action in your case study, and a big one if you can, right? Like a Vegas signs, talk to me. Not literally. I would say put a cal.com link saying book a call with me. Here's why, okay? I was speaking to a designer, or not a, I was speaking to a founder. He's like, I want to hire somebody. And then he sees a case study and then he reaches out. This person doesn't reply to emails because they were on a holiday. And then it just kind of fell through. Like they got busy. The connection didn't happen, right? Connection, guys. That's one of the core things here. Your case study is a flag. It's a flag saying, come here, let's connect. If your case study is a destination and then that's it, what's the outcome, right? Are you guys understanding? roughly what I'm saying? Your case study needs to be a flag and that says, come here, explore more. Not something that says that has everything there and then it's like, okay, what do I do? Right. So yeah, I mean, I totally understand. This sounds a bit vague, but that's the core. That's the core. Okay. Let's see a few more. Hey Sajal, enrolled in cohort 10. Let's go. Transitioning my career to design, working full time in Bangalore. Should I quit my job to get the most out of the cohort? Usually 9 to 6 is exhausting for me. See, I can't be responsible for your decision, right? So what I will say is the cohort happens on Saturday 7 p.m. No, no, hold on. It happens Wednesday 7 p.m. onwards, so 7 to 9. So you should be able to attend the Wednesday session. Outside of that, it happens on Saturday from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Right? We've switched the times. Earlier it used to be 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Saturdays. Now it's 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. So if you're working 9 to 6 and you're exhausted, the challenge is on Saturdays or the weekends is where you will have most of the time to do, right? Now, personally, should you quit your job? I don't know. It's a difficult question to answer, but I will say a lot of it depends on whether you have savings. If you're staying with your parents, that's good. Um, what would I say to this? Hmm. I'll tell you my POV, right? Personally, for me, when I have considered quitting my job, um, it's a very risky thing. But then when I knew I needed to quit, it was very obvious. Like it was very obvious to me. I was like, obviously, I can't do anything. At the same time, I think most people don't quit unless they have something going on. In this case, yes, you have the cohort to go into. And I think you will see if you do quit, you will be able to hardcore go into it, spend a lot of time, like all that 9 to 6 time. Yeah, you could spend that designing, which would be awesome. But it's a risk question, right? Are you ready to take that risk? I will tell you this just to uh, give you that idea. People in the past, alumni, they have some of them were full time working on this in the sense that they were finished college and they're in between. Some of them were college and then managing. Some of them were work and then managing. So people have done it in the past, but really it becomes the time thing, right? Especially if you have to commute a lot. I can really understand it can be exhausting. But I will tell you this, bro, it's your decision to take. Are you going to quit or not? It's a big one. I'm not so sure. Hmm. Okay, let's do a few more. Um, RJ says, I'm getting calls from UI UX institutes to take course. Should I go? RJ, I mean, you're not getting our calls or what? Here's my suggestion, RJ. See, obviously, I'm biased. I think we have the best course on the market. We also have a very premium one in the sense it's a 4 month intensive course. Um, I will also say this, right? Courses are not like colleges that you can only do them once. We've got a lot of folks in our cohorts who've done boot camps before, the ones you see on Instagram, all these ads and stuff. And for some of them, it worked out. It was awesome. But then they were like, 2 years later, okay, I want to challenge myself again. And so they enrolled in 10K designers, right? So my suggestion to you, RJ, is what are you doing right now? If you have something that interesting, challenging, design related in your life that's taking up all your time, do that. You don't have to go into these courses. But if not, you want something more immersive, definitely go for it. I will say this. Um, Cohort and applications are open. So if you're interested, at least submit an application, right? We do have very limited seats remaining because we're starting on 18th. But do give it a shot, at least, right? At least submit a good application. You can decide later. But I will say this: you need to be ready for it, bro. Because whatever course you're taking, right? The non-biased answer would be you get what you put in. So I have bought plenty courses, but I just did not spend enough time um, working on them and immersing myself in the course material, and so I got nothing out of it, right? So whatever you do, you need to be ready that you can actually go into it and do it. I will say this also, Sajal, one thing that might make you feel better is if by chance, you said you're enrolled in cohort 10, if by chance, you're not able to keep up with the pace. And so month 2 or something, you're like, wow, I'm like not able to manage. Some people quit after they've started the cohort because then they have an idea of how much they can manage. Um, Another option that you will have since you're enrolled, Sajal, is you could defer, right? So let's say month 2 or somewhere in between, you're like, I can't keep up. You can drop out of cohort 10 and join cohort 11, and we'll help you do that free of cost, right? In the end, we want you to be successful, bro. So whether it's cohort 10 or 11, what matters is that you get an outcome, right? So Sajal, we've got your back. Figure it out. Yeah. And yeah, RJ, I would say what's important is if really, if see, I don't also like to just talk about design from job perspective, right? But in the end, as a designer, you need to have let's just say, an urge to create. Like, I want to create some stuff. Even if you don't have it right now, right? You might be stressed, busy, whatever. But have you, at some point in your life, been like, I want to create my own things? I want to, work on a startup someday. And so, someday, if you want to work on a startup, design is one of the core skills you will need, whether you're a founder or whatever else, right? So, personally, for me, I got into design because I was like, I really am interested in startups, but I'm in college, so I can't do a crazy startup right now. What's a very useful skill that I will need in the future? And it was design, and I got into design, right? So, RJ, the reason I'm telling you this, um, you know the answer already. If you're not interested, you're not interested, bro. But find something that can like really absorb you, that you're really like your eyes go like this. You're like, wow, bro, I really want to do that. Right? It could be design, it could be something else. Um, and the thing about courses, you can do multiple courses multiple times, right? In the future. Um, okay. Now, guys, I have a bunch of questions. Let me just say, I will get to these questions, right? I'm not going to skip. I'll try my best to cover as much as I can today. Mail says, feeling overwhelmed with AI tools. How do you disconnect, stay focused, and prioritize? Anything specific you think is worth working on right now? See, Mayol, I will say this: spend 10% of your time trying out these tools. That's about it, bro. And if something catches your attention, you're like, wow, this is fucking amazing. What the fuck? Like you will feel that, right? Like if an AI tool like really blows your mind in some way, you will feel that. So let your sense of wonder direct you. Spend like 10% of your time. And what 10% means, like very practical way, I would say maybe. So here's a good tip I got, right? I got this tip from this guy. I think that was Yash. Yash. So Yash, okay, I let me just say it in general, right? Yash is someone I know who works full time as a designer. Now he is fully into his job. He does not have the time to get into these AI tools. Now he has a job. He's got hardcore design work that he's doing, but he also knows that I really want to figure out this AI tool because what if it's good? Now, as Yash doesn't do it, he gets scared. He's like, fuck, FOMO, what am I missing? And that creates a very negative feeling towards AI. And so, even when he sits down to try something, there's a negative feeling of this better be useful because this made me suffer. I felt so bad about not doing it. Now I'm finally here. You better be worth it, right? It creates a negative feeling. But that's not what Yash did. What Yash did was in his calendar. Now, this is a very practical, right? I saw this and I was like, fuck, I need to do this. On Thursday or one day of the week, he set up a calendar invite with 3 friends saying, today we are going to try out tool name. Literally that, right? Why? Because it stops being the scary thing and it's something you look forward to. You're like, oh yeah, on Wednesday, we're all going to try Galileo. That's the AI app, right? Secondly, it becomes a social activity. It's almost like, oh, I'm going to go for coffee with my friends. It kind of becomes like that. And so my suggestion to all of you want to try AI tools, this kind of thing, set literally a calendar invite with 2 or 3 friends. Say, we're going to show up on a Zoom call. And in the calendar invite, just mention, right? Tool tryout or give it some cool name, Galileo app name. And so you don't have to do this every week, but say, in your WhatsApp group, say, hey guys, this week, let's try out this tool. We're just going to get on this call, chit chat for 5-10 minutes, go try it out for 30 minutes. We'll put a timer. And the next 20 minutes, we'll discuss and we'll show what we worked on. And the approach I will say is don't have a very wonder, important one. Have a sense of wonder rather than pressure. Oh, I need to try this out. Fuck, bro. What if this doesn't work? How will I use this? That's pressure. Wonder. I wonder if it's good enough. I wonder what I can create. I wonder if I can do more. Have a sense of wonder, but have a sense of impartiality. Like this tool doesn't have to change your life, right? That's the problem with AI also. Everything is like this tool will change your life. No. Impartiality, which is, hey guys, we're going to show up for an hour, 90 minutes, whatever. We're going to try this tool. And we're not impartial that this needs to be awesome or this needs to be this thing. We just try it out and just share it. So my suggestion, folks, you need to do that. In fact, I will say, Mehul, bro, you should probably, here's my specific suggestion, right? Create a message and post it in the 10K designers WhatsApp group saying, hey guys, every Wednesday, and maybe that's too much, right? Maybe if you don't want such a big audience, hey guys, I'm looking for 5 people. For the next 4 weekends, we're going to get on a call for 90 minutes and we're going to try out different tools. Here's the list of tools, or you can figure the tools out later. Who's interested? They will DM you, set this up. Now, here's the thing, right? Everybody wants to be a part of something like this. Like, I wish somebody invited me to one of these, right? I wish one of my friends did it, but I will have to probably do it. But then once you get in the zone, it'll be fun. So my suggestion, folks, you're feeling overwhelmed, you want to do some stuff, figure out how can I make it fun? Figure out how I can make it social. This makes it more likely that you look forward to it and you're in a positive mood, and so you try stuff out rather than negative. Makes sense, guys? Who's going to try this out? Who's going to try this out? Really, let me know. I want some of you to at least give this a shot. And I want you to let me know how it went, okay? Because I'm not coming up with this, by the way. This guy Yash. I saw his calendar and he had a slot for him to check out a tool, and I was like, wow, that's such a good way to discover tools. Yeah. Hey, Ragul. Ragul says 3D QA. Wow, 3D QA. Not heard of that. I know QA. I know 3D. Never heard of these together. For 3 years, want to transition to UI UX or web design with some graphic design experience and freelance work. Is it possible to make this shift? And do companies hire candidates with such backgrounds? Now, it is possible to make the shift. I will say that. Do companies hire with such backgrounds? As long as it's a positive, right? So, for example, what I will suggest is if you've been doing this for 3 years, see, I'm not sure exactly what 3D QA is, okay? But if you want to do transition to UI, UX, or visual design, I would say you need to show this. So you have graphic design experience, great. I would say out of all the graphic design, so graphic design work that you've done or visual design work, the top 10%, take it and then try to do something that matches or exceeds the quality. Why am I saying this? Because companies, usually it's a positive if they have some interesting diverse background, right? But then this thing they will still look at, the background is just a Again, it's in the background, right? What's in the foreground? In the foreground needs to be your projects. So if you want to switch to this, have projects. You're saying you already have graphic design, find the top 10%, right? So what I'm saying is find the best work that you've done and then try to replicate it, right? Duplicate it, like literally create something just as good or slightly higher, and then repeat this. So it's not going to be a disadvantage, right? But you still need to work just as hard as somebody starting today, which is, yes, in some ways, you do, my guess, you do have some advantage compared to somebody, let's say, who's straight out of college. Why? Because you understand how startups work. You understand how to work with people. You're QA, right? So you probably know how to work with devs. So what you want to do is, from your background, you want to find what are my strengths that can actually be useful. So these are some that I listed out. But beyond that, it's still the background, right? In the foreground, like right up front, needs to be your work. In fact, needs to be your best work. And then you need to take your best work and raise the bar. Yeah. Okay. Andrea says, what's your opinion on working remote versus in office? Now, remote is the comfiest thing ever. That's what my opinion is, right? If somebody's paying me a high amount of money and they don't get to control my lifestyle job wise, I think it's awesome because I get to chill, or I get to work at my own pace. But I'm the kind of person who gets lazy. And so over time, I lose momentum. I need connections to happen, conversations to happen to stay motivated. So, my opinion, see, if I had to just pick one, clearly my actions speak louder than words, right? So, my actions are, last 4 years I was working remotely. And then I shut up my whole, like, I shut down my entire life to move to Bangalore and pay for an office and move my entire team here. So, clearly my actions say in office. But at the same time, I'm very used to remote. And so I'm still adjusting to in office, like waking up in the morning, coming to work, right? Although for someone starting out, connecting this to something we were discussing earlier on stream, in office typically tends to have easier connections versus working remote can get very isolating. So my suggestion, if you have both these choices, pick the slightly more uncomfortable one, which is usually in office. Later in your career or mid career, you can choose to go remote, right? In fact, later in your career, let's say you have 5+ years of experience, you're probably eligible to work for international remote jobs, right? You'll be able to apply to international startups to work as a designer and you'll earn a lot more. But I would not suggest trying to do that early. Why? Because it's much harder. Because international, they typically hire people with more experience. They don't want to take the risk on somebody who's brand new and might have uncertainty. But also because early in your career, it's really hard to create your own structure and be motivated all the time. And in person helps take care of all that. All you have to do is, bro, wake up in the morning, have your breakfast, and show up to office. The rest kind of happens. Not always, but yeah. So clearly, my preference right now is in office, but I love remote, bro. I loved remote. Like last 4 years, remote was so good. But I found myself getting way too lazy, way too stuck, way too disconnected, a little bit isolated, and I decided the best move was to move back to India. That's the honest answer. Thor Radisson says, what's up, man? Working as a senior designer, what can I do now to prepare myself to become a lead designer? So, really good question. I have a 30-minute video on my channel, which is how to become a senior designer. And basically, in that, there's a bunch of rubrics. And basically, what I mean is, what you will be able to do when you check out that video is you will be able to do a self assessment on what are my strong points and what are my weak points. And once you're able to do this assessment, it's linked. Okay. I've linked it in that senior designer video. Once you do this assessment, you will know what to focus on. But in general, I can tell you this. Um, you're making a senior designer to lead designer. Now, Is that an IC to a manager role? That's a question, because sometimes these terms are used differently in different companies. Is it an IC to a manager role? Because if it is, the core thing to focus on is actually mentorship. How can you become a better mentor? And what I mean by that is, can you help somebody else improve their output? Number one. So if you want to become a manager, I'm assuming, okay, I don't know. If senior to lead is just an IC to IC jump, then it's just a matter of getting better at what you're already doing. But if it's an IC to manager jump, there's new skills involved, right? Which is managing down, which is making sure the people who are working with you can amazing outcome and you enable them to do that. And then manage their timeline, a little bit project management. And then managing up, which is taking on lots of responsibility, being responsible for deadlines, being able to create structure when there is a lot of uncertainty, ambiguity. Definitely check out that senior design video. I think you will like it. It's a very rare resource that I was able to find. It's an assessment thing that you can do. Yeah, check that out. What's up, Harry? I'm just starting to learn UI UX. Can I join the cohort as a beginner? Yeah, you can. If you're ready to dedicate the next 4 months to hardcore figuring this out, working on projects, connection, right? A core part of our cohort is we force you almost to connect with mentors, connect with alumni, connect with your other cohort members. Why? Because it kind of simulates this environment of being in a design team. That's important. So yes, you can. However, I will say this: there's only a few spots left, and we would prefer if you have Figma experience. Not see in the past, people with limited Figma experience have also joined the cohort, but I will be very honest, like this is not a marketing tactic. We cannot let everybody in, unfortunately, right? If we could, we would be at 10K designers already. Every cohort has very limited spots. Like that's just the reality of it. Why? Because we have to, for the number of people, we have to also hire and pay mentors. And like managing a live cohort is quite difficult, right? Anyway, point being, Figma will help. Definitely, if you know Figma, if you can learn Figma. And when I say learn Figma, be comfortable enough to do auto layout, right? That's the bar. It's a couple of hours of work. If you're willing to do that and you're willing to commit the next 4 months, definitely, you can definitely join the cohort. But do spend some good time in your application, right? Because yes, there are limited spots available. And so we will, if all of you here today submit an application, not all of you would get in. Just being honest, right? Because we do have very limited spots remaining. We're 1 week, 1.5 weeks away from cohort start. Hit Bro says, yo, today I got my first internship. Woo! Congrats, bro. Nice to hear that. They're offering me 2 to 3 LPA. Now, here's the thing. Do not calculate internships in LPA because it makes it look like you're not giving you enough. Do not calculate it LPA. 2 to 3, let's say you're making, let's say it's 2.5. Now, what that means is it's about 20,000 rupees a month. Bro, 20,000 rupees a month is very typical for internships. I can tell you, remote internships, India, typically they pay 15,000, 20,000. In person, you're coming to Bangalore, it's typically 20 to 35. But this is very normal for internships. I think you should take it, go for it. And I will say this, it's just 3 months or 6 months, right? The reason I say don't think about an LPA is an internship doesn't last for a year. And by the way, even if it does, if your internship lasts for a year, by the way, you should ask them to update it to not an internship, but just a contract. Like, yeah, sure, it's just a contract that I'm doing for you. Because the thing is, it's a bit weird to intern for a year. Not really. What's the problem? You're doing design, you're getting paid for it. Nothing weird in that. But it just on the resume kind of feels off, right? So, anyway, if it's a 3 to 6 month internship, great. I think you should take it. And I will say this, internships don't pay you a lot. Internships are meant to be temporary. In fact, internships is the company giving you a chance, right? Companies don't always have to take interns, but they do it. So it's typical. I would say go for it. What I said in one of the earlier questions, the thing I would say you should optimize for is connections. curiosity. Go into it with a sense of wonder, saying, bro, I'm not going to just sit down like this and do my job like a, I was going to say code monkey, but that's not a, it's not a design term, it's a dev term. You want to go in there being like, bro, how does this all happen? Right? Ask questions, make connections, talk to people, go on sutta breaks, don't smoke, go on lunch breaks. Because really, internships are learning opportunities. So learn, absorb as much as you can. Money is okay. This is good. Assuming it's a 3 to 6 month internship. Yeah. Can you review my portfolio real quick? Bro, I unfortunately won't be able to. Um, let me see if I can set up a separate portfolio review stream or something like that, because been a while since we've done this. Uh, yeah, not on this call though, not on this stream, unfortunately. Okay, let's some more. Let's do some more. Mm, okay, PTAT, student 11th standard, looking to learn UI UX, really want to earn something. I'm able to give around 1.5 hours daily. Do you think it will work out for me? Anything else to recommend? Now, bro, when I was in 11th, I wanted to make a lot of money as well, but realistically, it's not possible. That's my experience, right? Um, I would say learn it, but making money from UI UX design with just 1.5 hours daily, I am not so sure if it's possible. Let's see, right? 1.5 hours daily. That's like it's like I said, 10 hours a week. Significant amount of time. The only problem, right? Like my guess is doing it as a student. Um, uh, somehow attendance, board exams, and all this shit always breaks the flow, right? So, my suggestion, if you're learning it, it's awesome that you know you're interested. So definitely explore your interest. But earning money through that right now at 11, I don't know if it's possible. Yeah. The direct paths though, if you really want it. So for example, I know people who are in this, I mean, I don't know them, um, observed. I know folks are doing thumbnails, for example, YouTube thumbnails, and they're getting paid for it, right? But then a thumbnail is you could just give a prompt and then just get it, right? UI UX design, you really need to connect to the client, connect to the team, all of this stuff, which I don't know if you'll have the capacity to do. But if you really want to try it out, I would say go specific rather than trying. If money is really the goal, right? You want to make some money. Go specific. Go to Fiverr. Go to Upwork. Browse. Like spend 1.5 hours one day just browsing on these freelancing. What are people getting paid for? What kind of requests do clients have? And then I would say try to learn that. So what's the difference? I'm saying rather than learning UI UX design and then figuring out later how do I make money, if you're part time and you're doing this, directly go to these freelancing sites. In fact, this is probably a good idea for all of you here. Directly go to these freelancing sites, spend an hour or two just looking at what do clients want. And when you do that, you will get some idea of some pattern in your head of, oh, it seems like a lot of people are asking for this specific thing. Can I learn how to do that specific thing? Do it a couple of times, build a portfolio just for that specific thing, and then apply on these platforms or post content about that specific thing. Yeah, I'd say going specific will really help. Hey Purushat, solo designer, about 2 years of experience, let's say year and a half, working on a 0 to 1 SaaS product. My company skips research for speed. Should I focus on design decisions only for case studies? Purushat, my suggestion, it's okay, because yes, your company's primary concern at this point is finding PMF, product market fit, and growing revenue, right? So they might see research as something we'll do later or something that's a good to have rather than a must have, right? Which is totally okay. What you should focus on in your case studies is before and afters. To put it in a very simple way, before, we had a problem. Our customers really wanted this. We really wanted this capability, or the current version just sucked, right? Give a good sense of why before was bad. And then after, show your screens, talk a little bit about them. Don't need to explain, go into depth. Yes, you can talk about design decisions, but only if you can do it briefly in an interesting way. I would say have enough to get the other person's interest to actually book a call with you, right? Or when you're applying, to actually put you in the next round of interviews. So it's totally okay. You're not in a disadvantage that your company does this, but your focus needs to be before and afters. Before, bad. After, good. Here's how I made it happen. Here's all the screenshots, zoomed in flows. Here's the thing I will say. Sometimes it also feels like I need to put all my work in the case study. You could do that. My suggestion, put the top 10% of your work. So in a project, let's say you designed 30 screens, spend like the top 10%, so like 3 screens, like, and that it's the best of the project. Spend like a good 40-50% of time talking about just that 10%, right? Because it's the best part of it, your project. And the rest of it, you can just put enough to get the other person curious and enough to show that there was depth in this project, right? But my suggestion, show the most interesting parts, and this before and after framing would be helpful. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So Nagarjun says, what skill gap to fill to join a product based company with a good team? If you know how to replicate screens, proper components, decent in UI, what's next? Nagarjun, if you want to join a product based company, you need to show that you can take on responsibility and that, of course, your skill. You're saying the thing is, you're calling yourself decent. Why is that, bro? Why are you not calling yourself amazing? Because you know to some extent that you're not amazing, right? So already you know that there is some gap. So investigate further. You know how to replicate screens, but is replication enough? Usually not, right? Like you need to take a vague idea and you need to be able to bring structure. Decent in UI, is decent really the best it can get? You can do better than decent, right? So that's your gap. That's the gap you want to fill. And to make it very practical, the way this happens is via putting the hours in, right? And again, maybe that sounds vague. Um, do a project. Skill gaps, bro. If you never have a challenge, why learn the skill? Really think about it for a sec, right? For example, I could learn skill gap. I don't know. I'll take an example. I don't know how to solve a Rubik's cube. I have a skill gap, right? I no clue actually, no clue at all. But I don't need to fill that skill gap because I have no challenge that requires me to do it, right? So for you, I would say, what's the challenge? What is something that scares you a little bit? You're like, oh, fuck, I want to do that, but I don't know if I'm good enough yet. What's a challenge that scares you a little bit? Now, let me give some examples, right? Maybe it's making a website. Not, I know you've probably done some website designs, but when you open certain websites, you're like, fuck, I don't know how to make something like this. Like, this is really good and I don't know how to do it. That's a challenge. Now, once you have a challenge, you immediately know I am here. I need to be here. In fact, you don't know actually. You're like a challenge. I have skills. Will I be good enough? Well, the only way to do it is to actually try. And then you try and then you fall short and then you spend more time. And that's how you discover what the skill gap is, right? So don't ask. I mean, I cannot tell you what the skill gap is. The skill gap depends on the challenge. You're saying product based company, right? That's a good clue because if you want to do product based, you need to be able to design products straight up, right? To put it in simple terms. Can you, as an individual, design a whole product? That's my challenge to you. Decent in UI, that's okay. Can you design a whole product? Do it. You want to join a product based company? What kind of product based company? SaaS product, mobile app product. Now both are really good, but and ideally there's no reason why you should pick, right? Go for both if they're equally interesting. Can you make a full SaaS product? Guys, I really want you to understand this. There are people with zero skills making SaaS products today. Zero skill. It might be surprising, right? Because we spend time learning and all this and we feel like we're not good enough. Guys, the people who think they can actually do it end up figuring it out. The people who think they can't do it don't, right? The thing I was saying earlier about Upwork, go to one of these freelance platforms. Okay. Here's my direct suggestion to you, Nagarjun. Go to one of these freelance platforms and find a product. Now product based company, you're saying, find somebody who's hiring a product designer. Why? It's because when you see a job description, they're very vague. But when you see a brief, when you go to these freelance sites and you see a brief, they're usually very specific. They say, hey, these are the 5 flows that we want you to design. I would say go apply for those, but then the one that's most interesting, just take that as a brief and just do it. Right? Those are free briefs on Upwork, on all these freelancing platforms. I think Fiverr has them as well. So that's the challenge. The skill gap, you discover it by actually trying to meet the requirements of the challenge. And then do this a few times. Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. Okay. What's up, Rohit? How to include work which is not directly related to product design? E-reader, which I'm building. How to present it such that it helps rather than makes me look like someone who isn't focused. Now, bro, Rohit, you're designing an e-reader. See, it might not be an app or a website, but technically it's a product, right? Now I don't know what you exactly mean by e-reader. Imagine a product, right? My suggestion, if you want to present it as and present it in a product thinking type of way rather than just random. See, firstly, who isn't focused? Here's the thing, right? If you write an interesting story, make it interesting. Like if you had to talk to your 8-year-old nephew or niece and say ki bhai maine ye banaya hai, right? Your niece, so it's a child, they don't know about all this world, they're not going to pretend to be interested. If you have to really make them interested, you would do it in a very interesting way. You would say ki, you would give examples, you'd say anecdotes, and then you would try to, like, you'd see the person losing interest and then you'd explain it. Point is, look like someone who isn't focused. Firstly, let's remove that blocker, right? If you're able to tell an interesting story, everybody is interested, bro. I'll give you an example, right? My Now this is not a direct example, but my sister, for example, she put out a reel yesterday about honeys, about the top. There are 300 flavors of honey apparently in India. Now, bro, that's so niche, right? But the point is, you tell an interesting story with good examples. Yeah, it got like a couple 100,000 views. Why? It's because it's an interesting story. I want to know this. So, coming back to this, if you're building an e-reader, find out what's most interesting about it and talk about only that. Don't put the pressure of I need to talk about my entire experience, the boring parts, the good parts. Don't try to present your entire experience. Pick the top 10% most interesting parts. Maybe it's the sketches, maybe it's the product design, maybe it's the something else. Do an interesting job and that'll be good. But other than that, one more practical tip, try to think in terms of, firstly, have the user in mind. So what I mean by that is a person who use typical screen readers, what are some gaps that they face, right? Make it very clear that you are thinking about the person on the other end, right? So number one, that's one way you can show that you're user centered. You're doing this not as a random activity. You're doing this because there is a certain user on the other end who has some issues, and you firstly understood that, and then you're trying to solve it. So be user centered if you can somehow. Besides that, iterative, right? Every creative work goes through iterations. So even if you're writing a song, you might have V1, then V2, and then V3. In the end, people only listen to the V3, but then there's probably a lot of rejected stuff behind it. What's the most interesting part that you can show, right? So show that you have an iterative process. So I think that's it. And here's the thing. Um, just make it interesting. That's what I'll say, right? Now, the reason case studies also are not working, or rather losing their effectiveness, is because everybody's using ChatGPT to write it. And when I say everybody, I mean since ChatGPT came out, like think about this, right? You yourself, you're sitting in front of the computer, you're like, okay, I can spend a couple hours writing, or I can spend a couple minutes, and ChatGPT gives me something that's okay. Most people go for the easy route. They just go for the okay, which is why it's even more important now to make interesting presentations. And when I say interesting, it should a little bit be entertaining. Like it should trigger that other person's sense of wonder. Like, what is this? Never seen something like novelty. What is this? Never seen something like it. Or wonder. Like, bro, what? I wonder what happened here. Now, guys, if I'm getting a bit vague, it's also because we're 1 hour, 40 minutes into it. But Rohit, I hope that was useful, bro. And I hope you're still on the call. Oh, you are. Kindle like mini e-reader using Raspberry Pi and an e-ink display. The thing is, bro, Rohit, that's interesting as fuck. I don't know a single person in my life who's done this. So automatically I'm interested, right? But the thing is, if I read your case study and you don't think it's interesting, then I'll be like, bro, this is probably not interesting. So if you can present it in an interesting way, yeah, there's no gap. It's awesome. Okay. Yo, I got a super chat. Super chat from Anshul. And so Anshul, you skipped the queue because you did this. How's the market for switching right now? I'm a product designer with 1+ year of experience, scaled 0 to 1 products, often led as a PM. So I would say 1+ year of experience. Let's get direct, right? Let's literally open LinkedIn. Oh damn, I'm not signed in. I'm so scared, bro. My LinkedIn got hacked in November because yeah, I don't know how. Let's go to jobs. I'm gonna collapse this. Search for UI UX designer. I do this every once in a while just to see what the market is like for the cohort members. See, usually when it comes to this kind of thing, right? How's the market? The thing is, you can never know how the market is. My suggestion, do this and try to see, is there something interesting? So, for example, skid. Okay, now this was 3 months ago, right? So, this is probably not active anymore. Let's say date posted past month. Whenever you want to gauge the market, my suggestion, the first thing you should look at is, do the search for whatever your role is and see, is there something that I'm excited to apply to? Not कि हाँ अगर मिल जाएगा तो मैं ले लूँगा Adobe में. No, no, no. Is there something you're excited to apply to? Like you're like, fuck, uh, I can't believe Misho's hiring. Shit, I really want to get into this. Now, here you can see it is in your range, right? 0 to 1 years of experience. Now, again, no guarantee that you'll make it in, right? Of course, that's the thrill of the game. You never know whether you're going to get it. But if you feel like there are interesting jobs, like you're like, wow, man, I feel tempted to apply, that's a good suggestion that the market is probably good, right? Because I can tell you there will be days where you open this and you're going to be like, bro, I mean, there are no good jobs. Or you'll be like, yeah, if I had to force myself, I would probably apply for this, but then I'm not interested about it, right? So that's what I would suggest. I see a comment as well, which is you talk to a lot of people. Are there founders and leaders looking for designers like me? Yeah, there are. But here's the other thing, right? Um, that's just anecdotal. Yes, there are, but really, whether that's useful to you or not really matters on are you interested in the types of roles that are out there, right? So, which is why I would say try doing this. Yes, there are, but I will say this: there always are, right? There's never a point where there's nobody looking for anything, right? And so, what you also say is that you have PM experience. I would say that is something which I think founders. Here's what founders want: they want people who take responsibility, not कि आपने बोला है तो मैं कर दूंगा. They kind of take responsibility and they can a little bit motivate the people around them, right? Founders love that. It's like if you can make, think about this as a founder. If this person, if Anshul joins and he makes my existing employees even better, that's an awesome hire, right? But for you to be able to do that, you need to actually be interested in one of these. Um, so anyway, that's what I would say, Anshul. I don't know if you should quit though, especially if you like your team. It's rare to find good people to work with. I will say that, right? I think sometimes we do take this approach of let's just find the best opportunity out there, but really good colleagues that you look forward to going to work, like, bro, that's rare. That's so rare. Like, that's a very valuable thing. So if you have that, definitely stick to it. And on the back end, keep building your portfolio or something where you can actually, if ever one day you apply to these jobs and you get a call, you have some slides, you have some work that you can present, right? So that's something you can do behind the scenes. Okay. So folks, the hack now is super chat if you want to jump the queue, but I'm going to jump back up. I'm going to jump to another question here. Yitogami says, how does 10K help me in landing a job? Is there a guarantee? Now, Yitogami, I will say this. I know that there's a lot of courses on the market that say 100% placements. I don't believe any of them do 100% placements. I think it's false advertising. But how do we help? I'll show you something very specific. This is our approach, right? I think placements outdated as a concept, but having done 9 cohorts, I can tell you what I have found is that people are at different stages of their journey. And I'm not going to say you're ahead and so you're better, you are behind and so you're worse, right? Me as an educator, I need to accept where you are and help you find the next step and then the next step and then the next step. So our approach is this. We do have a members only community. So any founders that reach out to me, I post the JD in our internal group. Let's see. For example, just this week, there was Ankit, who's head of design of Pratilipi. He's also one of our mentors. He posted on Jan 3rd, Jan 2nd. There was another one here. So we do have this. This is everybody in the, here's the thing, right? Being from 10K designers, very likely that you're working at a company or an agency, your managers are going to ask you, do you know other people who are good in your class or in your cohort or from 10K? And so those people typically post in the WhatsApp group. We have city-based WhatsApp groups or in the Discord, right? So that's one thing. Besides that, one of the reasons we don't talk about placements is a little bit cringe, but also it's because a lot of people come here for freelance and side hustles, right? So we have a bunch of agency owners, like people who run design subscription agencies who are actually mentors. So we have that. Besides that, I will say we focus a little bit on the long game. Yeah, we'll help you with like how to build a portfolio, how to post content, all of this kind of stuff. But, and let's say you want to go for masters in the future, yeah, I'll write you a letter of recommendation if your work is good. But beyond that, we help you over the long term, right? That's what I will say. So if you are putting in the effort, I am here for you, bro. In fact, one of my reasons for moving back to Bangalore was that I can be closer to the community. Now, guys, I'm a bit of a social introvert, right? So it gives me social anxiety a little bit. But yeah, the reason I got this space is so that I can be there for you guys and talk. Again, I don't want to get into marketing talk. You will also get all this stuff featured and everything. But yeah, guys, we have the standard stuff, right? So we're placement friendly in the sense that we will send you job opportunities. Founders do reach out to me because I make so much content. People who are already in 10K, they reach out to me saying, can we get more designers? And if you're good, I will recommend you. Absolutely. And if you're not good, I will help you get good till you eventually can get there, right? So one of our mottos is also cohort once, community forever, which is our upcoming cohort, for example. We're going to be inviting alumni as part of it. Now, not the entire thing. I think that'll get boring. But we are going to do a lot of stuff, which is, this kind of stuff. And so this makes it such that even if you are a little slow and you take much longer to figure it out, you are in the network, bro. And in the network, there are network benefits, right? That's my goal moving back. Now, looking back, I'm like, I managed to make a lot of this happen um, working remotely, even though I was in Copenhagen. But now that I'm in person, the pressure is high. Let me just say that. I need to, personally, for myself as a founder, I need to go multiples, right? So I am now even more focused on making this stuff happen. Yeah. So check it out, bro. That's my answer. We don't want to guarantee for marketing reasons. Here's specifically how we help, right? You check this out. All right. Let's come back here. What are the prerequisites? Bhavika helps if you know Figma. Definitely, it takes a couple of hours. Definitely do it. Besides that, you really need what we have an application process in the sense that I think about 40 to 50% of people that apply don't get in. The reason why is we really want you to be committed, right? Like there are people are going to ask me about things like placements. One sec. Like people are going to ask me about things like placements and what are your students doing and like do people get jobs? And so personally, just very selfish reason, I want you to be on this page, right? Because that's really the whole goal. I mean, that's the outcome here. Okay. Anyway, to answer your question though, prerequisites: spend some good amount of time in your application. If we read your application and we're like, this person is not interested, they're probably going to drop out or not going to be able to commit. We probably will not accept you. If you are committed and you know a little bit of Figma, that's usually good enough to get in. And if you have some work already, that's even better because then I will actually know what can I do to help you to actually, go to the next level, whatever that next level might be. So I need to look at it and be like, yeah, this person can clearly do it. They can figure it out. And by the way, the team doesn't do applications. I read applications myself. I rate and review them. Then the team, you know, does the rest of this. Okay. Atish says, what should we keep in mind while following or watching someone's content on social media to avoid getting the wrong guidance? How can we avoid FOMO and focus on what's truly important? Bro, um, let me show you something, okay? I want to show you something right now. It's loading, but I want to show you my screen time for December. There was a time when I was spending 8 hours a day on Twitter. Embarrassing to admit, but I was also trading meme coins and shit. So, one sec. Loading screen time. Okay, there we go. Bro, look at this shit. Okay. Week of December 17th to 23rd. You guys might not be able to see this, but that number says, why the fuck am I even showing this? Okay, hold on. Okay, whatever. I spent 21 hours. 21 hours in my burnout week on Twitter. Now, bro, even if somebody was saying good stuff, we're not supposed to put ourselves in front of this fire hose of content, right? So my main thing I will say is you really want to limit your screen time. Like, it sounds very simple, but even I am not able to follow it. Besides that, don't listen to anyone, right? Here's the thing. Nobody can give you guidance. You know who the best teacher is, or where you will get the most guidance? Your path. You do things, you will find out how good you are, right? Your experience with reality, that's your guidance, right? So my short answer, yeah, don't listen to anybody 100%. In fact, don't even listen to me 100%. Why? It's because in the end, bro, you are going to have to do the work, right? You're going to have to do the work. And I can't give you 100% guidance because I don't know what you're going to do. And the challenges you face, you will have to face them. So FOMO, I'll say FOMO for me reduced when I reduced my screen time. I spent way too much time on Twitter and then I stopped. And I don't even know if I got good parts out of it, right? I think I was just like, anyway. I wonder why I can't find case studies of designers from Google, Microsoft, Meta. I'll tell you why, okay, Anirudh. I've thought about this as well. It's because when you get into one of these big companies, the world stops existing. Your world then is Microsoft. And you get all your validation, all your success, everything from within the walls of Microsoft. So you don't need external validation. And so the reason they don't post it is they're like, what's going to happen? This person, this person who's not a Googler, they're not even going to enjoy this. But a Googler, if I can, within these walls of Google, talk about my work, I might actually get to go to the London office or, way more opportunities are unlocked for you when you're at these big companies playing the internal game rather than the external game. And so the ROI of publishing a case study goes really low when you're at these companies. You might be able to find ex employees who, when they had to switch, they made something. Um, and there are a bunch of them out there. So hard to find, but they are there. Yeah. The other challenge though is a lot of these guys, they'll do it and then they get a job and then they don't renew their domain or something. So many good case studies that I found back in the day from these folks, right? They don't exist anymore because they didn't renew the domain or something. So yeah, it's a big challenge. Even if you're able to get it, 1 year later it'll be gone. Yeah. Although one thing that could help is if you go on ADP list, book a call with somebody from this and ask them, hey, if you have permission, can you walk me through one of your projects? Right? Actually go one-on-one seeking it. That might work. Yeah. Another question by him is facing challenge simplifying the work I did in my current org, just completely different domain, agri, space tech. There's a lot of jargons. It's okay, bro. In the end, what's important is here was a problem and what they wanted was this, and this did not exist. And so I navigated from this area of problems, from users are unhappy, we don't have the features, this doesn't exist. You're saying agri and space tech, right? Farmers are going through all this trouble. Human element, why is the before bad? Talk about that, right? Simplifying, you might be thinking in terms of like, I need to knowledge transfer. You don't need to knowledge transfer. You need to get the other person being like, fuck, farmers have it so bad. And then the more bad the before is, the after is like, wow, these are the steps I followed and this is how I got there. So if there are jargons, skip it. The purpose of your case study is to get on that next call, is to make a connection with a human. The case study should not do all the work of explaining the jargon, because if you start doing that, it's a rabbit hole. And you'll start feeling like, bro, am I allowed to reveal all this? You need to do just enough to make a connection, which is connection on a call, get them to ask you, they're curious now, or enough to book a call with you, assuming you're doing it for a outcome. If you're doing it just to have it on your portfolio so that other people know this, skip the jargon. Just talk about the interesting parts that a casual reader, before really bad, after awesome. Make this very clear, this contrast. And then talk about a little bit about the steps. Don't, in fact, talk about 10% of what you did, the most interesting 10%. That is better than not publishing at all because there's so much pressure on you. Yeah. Okay, guys, we're coming up to the 2 hour mark. So I hope some of these older questions that I'm going, you guys are still on the call. Okay. Varun says, transition from graphic design to product design today. What are the things to leave, what to keep and move? What to keep? Get fucking good at visuals. Because if you're a graphic designer and you want it to count as good experience, it should be amazing graphic design, not just happy Diwali, not the boring stuff, right? Dump in a huge FigJam file every single graphic design thing you've done, pick the top 10%, show only that. What you should leave is the stuff that is just forgotten, right? Like the promotional campaign that was just a promo flyer or something, that commercial work that's not very creative. It was more of, oh, we need to upload a happy Diwali post. And so we did it. Ignore that. Nobody needs to see it. Pick the top 10% work, even if it was concept and it didn't finally go, but you were like, I worked hard on this. Have that. The thing to take forward is that graphic design work, the best part of it, right? Your top 10% work. Can I, in my web design or in the visuals part of my work, can I exceed that? That would be my suggestion. Yeah. Amol says, how to approach a design we don't have access to feedback or interaction with the user but need to revamp the product? You don't have interaction with the user, but you have your team, right? I'm assuming. So talk to your team. Product manager, founder, head of design, head of engineering. Revamp means something needs to change, which means there is some problem with it, which means you need to find out, connect, right? Do the connection. Talk to them and find out what's the problem. And then usually they're not coming up with shit. They're usually connecting it to observations they've made. So even if you don't have first hand connection or interaction with users, you have second hand. Like you can talk to your team and get that input. So do that. Other than that, see, I'm assuming you're talking about in a company, but other than that, there's a lot of other stuff available, right? So for example, you might have customer support logs, right? The customer support department in your team, in your company. Talk to them and say, what's the most common thing that people talk about? What are the negatives? Or go specific. You're approaching a very specific flow or design. Talk to them about that. Like, can you get me an export of what problems from that, right? So find these sources. Now, of course, if you're doing this as a concept project, you have to use the internet for this. You have to use ChatGPT, and you will get some aggregate, maybe not so specific, but some aggregate. But really, it is as simple as, what are the problems? There is some gap. There is some solution on the other side, and you need to find these sources to pathfind your way towards it. Hmm. You guys with me? Huh? So far, we're at 2 hour mark, bro. Going longer than I expected. Yo, what's up, Chris? I love making websites. Started with WordPress. Now I use Framer and Webflow to create beautiful websites. Never use Figma, and I don't know UI UX is a thing. So what should I do? Let me see. What's something I can show you right now that might be helpful? Let me think about this. Let me switch to Figma. So point is, Chris, if it's working, great, right? I'm not going to force you to change your ways. If it's working, great. Um, if you're facing a problem where there's a gap, then figure out, am I using some tools that would help me in this? So I don't have a. Mm, let's see. Usually, right? I've been in your position. Usually, the problem that happens when you're not using Figma is it gets harder to collaborate and it gets harder to um, iterate. Let's just trying to see if I can show you something because I'm not. So I'll show you this right now. This is a website design brief. It's done in Framer, so you could have directly done this, but then the process that was followed, and usually the reason to do this is because clients appreciate, or when you're doing workshops with multiple stakeholders, it's useful to have stuff like this. Now, guys, I can't show you all of this because this is one of the cohort members' work, right? From cohort 9. But let's say you have to put together resources, you've got to do some amount of research for it. So, for example, straightforward brief, right? Like this is a website for, let me jump in here. This is a website for a AI powered podcast app. And this was the website. It was very basic, no scroll, nothing. So, how can you make a better version of this? Now, the thing is, if you already know what it looks like you can't one shot a website. You have to go in steps. So, what you would probably do is develop some understanding of it, collect these assets. So, for example, FigJam. Now, what you're actually doing is, yeah, you might have these open as 30 tabs on your laptop, but putting it all together here in a way that people can see it on a call, you can just walk through this. That's useful. Persona, like, yeah, you know who's going to use this app, right? But if it helps to have structure to show that you're a professional with a process, or, there might be multiple personas that you're designing for. Now, that documentation, you would be able to do it here, right? Um, you want to collect references. Yeah, you could open these references as 100 tabs. But then when a client on a call asks you, yo, can you walk me through some interesting references that you found? It would be good to say, okay, yeah, I did. I've even made some notes about it. And I want to talk to you about whether the approach I'm taking is right, right? So overall, it's okay. It's great that you've been able to do this without. My just thing is, as you level up, you might need to do more explorations. You might need to do research, like even something like iterations, right? People like the similar question I also get from folks is, I'm a developer. I can directly design an HTML, CSS, or not HTML, CSS. I can directly design it with whatever, bro, Shade CN or some framework, right? But the structured way, if you want to do iterations and you want to find the one version that is the best, like you will probably have to do something like this, right? Go through iterations. And of course, Shashank, he worked on this with the mentors that were in his pod. So 10K designers, mentors. I reviewed Shashank's assignment as well. And yeah, finally, I mean, this is the website. You can go see it. But there's a whole process behind it, right? So basically, the reason is that as you do bigger projects with more people, it gets more complicated, more things to keep track of. It really streamlines all of that. Yo, super chat from Apurv using this hack to bump my question. And Apurv's question is, what should be the next steps for me? Stable corporate UX design job. Okay, awesome. But no satisfaction. All right. Now, change is actually done as the product is very mature. Should I start mentoring or some freelancing just for the design satisfaction? Hmm. Okay. So my suggestion, Apurv, very stable corporate UX design. It's a good thing, right? Especially if you like your colleagues, you're like, wow, I've built something good here. And in the end, guys, I know we all want to make more money, but internally, a lot of times we know how much we're happy with, how much we really need, right? Not to say you shouldn't be ambitious, but anyway, just thinking out loud. See, the satisfaction part, you will always feel it, right? Like even now, let's say I am now doing my own company, right? So nobody is controlling what I do. I can do things that are fun and whatever, but I'm not satisfied. Why? Because my eye is over here and I'm like, every time I reach it, it goes even further. So your options, okay, Apurv, at this point, you can climb the ladder. Okay, so whatever your next step is, you probably have some manager, head of design that you report to. Climbing the ladder means taking on more responsibility. Companies, if they can internally promote, they like that, right? So because you have all this context about the company, all the projects you did, one thing you can be more direct about is climbing the ladder in your company, right? If you've not thought about it or you feel like, you know, I am not, if you feel this, that agar ho gaya, if I get promoted, great, but I'm not going to actively try for it. One possibility you have is actually actively try for it. What's the next step in the ladder? Can you go ahead? The other interesting thing for folks who are in stable corporate jobs is do a lateral move to a company that is similar but different, right? So, for example, a friend of mine, he's at Microsoft, the designer. He loves Microsoft, but when he feels dissatisfied, he knows he can join Google. Now, again, there'll be some things that are problems, but at least it's novelty. And he knows that the path here is either take a risk and go totally different or climb the ladder or, you know, go lateral. So, my suggestion, three options roughly you have, right? Freelance for designing satisfaction. The thing is, freelance is a very self motivated thing. You have to really keep generating energy to do it. If you can do that, awesome. Okay. But it's difficult. And if you don't have a strong motivation to do it, you will give up sooner. Like you'll give up within a month or so. The other thing I will say, really, really try to climb the ladder. Either it means not taking your boss's job, but finding out what's the next step the company is taking where they might need to fill a role or switch to a different project or do the lateral move, right? Even if it's not as simple as Microsoft to Google, if you're a SaaS company, and let's say it's a very stable SaaS, there, CDC or something, they're making a lot of money. I'm sure a bigger competitor would probably want to hire you. You're probably a very interesting profile to a bigger competitor, or not even a competitor, right? Like, they're just same industry. They're just SaaS. But your company is here. It might be huge, but there's always a bigger company. So that's a lateral move, but it's a lateral upward move. That's another possibility. Yeah. I hope that answers, bro. Is managing 10K only work source? Keep yourself busy with other jobs. Um, as of last year, 10K was my only thing because I was doing remotely, so I really needed to focus. Now that I'm here, something's cooking, right? So I'm gonna do something's cooking. Let's just say 10K designers is still the primary thing, primary thing I'm doing. Rest of the stuff not as nowhere close to the size or impact of 10K, but something's cooking. I really want to. I want to make 10K designers obsolete in some ways. Like I want to be 10K designers as competitor. If that makes any sense. I wanna, I wanna, I wanna take what 10K is doing, and then I want to do it 10x better and be like, look at you guys, you weren't able to figure it out. And I have not been able to do that, right? That's why I'm still here. But and I really don't want to go back to a job. I don't think it's as satisfying for me, at least. I'm still a while away before going back to the job thing. Yeah. Okay, guys. I'll have to really wrap up soon. Okay. So, final super chats, if any, I'll answer. I'll do some recent ones, right? Aditya says, quite fucked up. Designer performance marketing agency, want to do better. Thinking of going for product design. Is it possible for me? Aditya, I would say your path probably looks like performance marketing to brand marketing to websites to product design. That's the most predictable path. I'll say that again. Performance marketing to brand marketing, or even within performance marketing, if you can be the one doing the CRO, the conversion rate optimization, and the like literally UX of pages to get conversion rate, that's a solid entry, right? If you're doing campaigns and stuff, yeah, maybe that's different. But that's a viable path, right? Go from performance marketing to CRO or to brand marketing. And so that gets you into visual. And then you go from that to websites. And so really into websites. And then go into other products, which is apps, dashboards, whatever. But the point is, the fact that you work at a performance marketing agency, the good parts of it is that firstly, you know how to deal with tough environments, huge positive. Secondly, you understand numbers, huge positive. So my guess is you should really look into CRO as your main thing and really go deep into that. Like that, I think could be the path out. I would love, for example, if you're hiring and there's a both designers being equal, but you have got like a CRO background and you're actually able to show that, bro, I'm actually able to bring that to my work. That's an advantage you have that a lot of other people don't. Yeah. Okay. Rashi says, got design at JP Morgan. Woo! Let's go, Rashi. How should I go about learning things? I know how to use Figma, but what are the things I should learn and study before the joining? Good question. See, the fact that it's JP Morgan. See, the thing I'll say, Rashi, is JP Morgan, huge company, which means they probably have fixed structure and processes, right? So actual learning will be only after you join. And after you join, do the thing I talked about earlier in this stream, which is sponge, right? You need to be a sponge. You need to form connections with people, absorb information from them. Like you need to go into it with a curious mindset of how does it everything work? Who does this? Who does that, right? Other than that, really try to form a close connection with your manager or peers who are slightly above you, right? Of course, you might not directly be able to talk to the head of design all the time. Their time is very limited, maybe valuable. But the person one above or like next to your manager, whoever you can, connections is what you want to optimize for. Here's the other thing. When you join JP Morgan, you're going to join and you're going to only see everything that happens after you join. But there's a ton of stuff that will happen in the past. So what you want to do is after you form some rapport with your colleagues, co-workers in the design team, in some of the side teams, ask them stories. Ask them stories about what happened last year. What is the one crazy project that you guys remember from last year? Because here's the thing, you weren't there, but then nobody asks them this question, right? Maybe they are also thinking, I want to make a case study, but nobody's interested, or how do I talk about? Ask them that. Ask them, Tell me about the projects that happened before I joined, right? And not from a sense of like I'm asking you just for the sake of asking. Actually, you're curious about how the hell does it happen? Because probably a lot of that will be similar to the stuff you work on. So my suggestion right now, I have no clue what you can learn, right? I would say the fact that you got in, once you're in, really, really focus on that. Form connections, absorb company knowledge. If you get added to the Figma team, bro, that's a huge thing. You can go through all their old Figma files and you'll get to learn so much from that, right? You have literally have secret resources that only you will have access to. And then all the people there who will talk to you because you're now co-workers. So I'll say real learning happens after you join. Yeah. Right now, I would say just be in a cool state of mind. Um, Update your LinkedIn. Work on a project, maybe. Right? Work on some small project. Work on some small app. Yeah. Okay, guys. I'm gonna wrap up. Okay, shortly. It's going way too long. Gravit says. Gravhit says, I do case studies and design, but sometimes I'm designing same frames, same layout over and over again. I feel stuck. Gravit, the problem is not in Figma. I think it's in your environment, right? Sometimes I talk to people and I'm like, bro, how do you keep doing all this cool stuff and all this? And they have no clue. And then I realize, oh, actually, it's because their environment is like that. So if you feel this way, try to change your environment somewhat, which is find out what other designers are working on. If you're freelancing, connect with other freelancers. If you are in a company, find people who are similar experience level at other companies. What are they working on? Is there really something different that you don't know? Approach it with a sense of wonder, right? The stuck feeling, bro, I know exactly what you're talking about. I feel stuck so many times. And usually, you know what I find when I feel stuck? It's because everything starts looking the same, what you're saying. And then I'm like, ऐसे ही तो होता है, bro. It starts looking like a chore rather than wonder. Like, what are the possibilities? I don't care about all that. It's like, fuck, it's a chore. It gets boring, right? The solution really that I want you to explore, novelty. How can I do something that I've never done before? Now, it could be as specific as I've never done this kind of website or this kind of thing. But really, there's some things you're curious about, right? That you've not done before. So, novelty, seek some novelty. Either it's in the types of people, connect with more similar people, types of projects, if you can do something. But that's the thing, right? When you feel stuck, everything starts feeling same. You want to find that one thing that's different, right? Approach with a sense of wonder. I wonder, how are other people not feeling this? I really wonder how are other people not feeling this, and then go find out. Go find out what's so different. Okay, guys. Garv says, what's your take on graduates of prestigious design colleges, India or abroad? NIT, NID, IIT, Royal College of London. See, the awesome part, campus life, amazing. Beyond that, alumni connections, right? Like if you're one of these graduates, you can just call up somebody from 7 batches ago and they will answer your email. That's the best part about it. Also, you can go back to your campus. The best part is, of course, the campus life if you're there. Other than that, the best part is the network. Like, I mean, I'm from Manipal and I have a Manipal WhatsApp group. And I mean, I don't spend so much time there, but it's not so much design related, right? But if you're in this thing, you have access to these alumni groups where, in the same way that I showed you this 10K designers group, people are posting job opportunities. My team has this thing, so that's actually the big benefit. Alumni is really the benefit. One of the reasons why 10K designers we've been able to get all these wins is because we don't think of ourselves as an online course. We're like, bro, we have to create an alumni network. The content, yeah, we'll do the best content. But if the content does not lead to connection, we failed. You know, you watch a Udemy course, you don't connect with a single person. Might be amazing content. You're going to forget. You're not even going to be excited about it. So, anyway, point being, my take, awesome. The best part is the alumni network. Although I will say this, the reality shock that a lot of these grads face after college, there is a reality shock, right? Because the industry does not work the same as academics. But then earlier I used to think, bro, I'm in a better position than them because I've been freelancing. I found out the real world. These guys, what do they know? That's what I used to think, right? When I was like 8 years ago, 9 years ago. Now I'm like, bro, they have an advantage. The advantage they have is alumni network, and their alumni network might carry them far. And so, what can I do as somebody who's not from these colleges? I need to build a comparable network. That's the only FOMO I have about design school, right? Network. And so I will personally do everything I can to make sure I have a better network, even without the advantage of NIDs and all of this. Yeah. That's that. And in the long term, that is the factor of success. It's the circles that you're in, really. Which is why even earlier we were talking about why do Google, Microsoft guys don't share their case studies online? Because they don't need to connect with you and me. There's no point. What they want to connect with is other Googlers, other people who are working at the London office, at the Tokyo office. Like that is more interesting to them, right? So even joining Google, joining Microsoft, the work you the work literally might be boring, but it's the network, bro. You'll get to see all the internal Microsoft Figma files, the discussions that happen. You'll be invited to their, seminars and like these guest sessions. It's all about the network. Yeah. And so really it's about proving that you can do this without a network, right? That's the driving force. Okay. Paras, what's up, bro? Recently graduated as an architect. Nice. 6 months graphic designer. US based firm which makes targeted email campaigns. My role is to create the Figma component library. Interesting idea. Eventually switched to a UI UX design job. I'm really good at UI, graphics, and Figma. Got it. So Paras, and what should be my roadmap? Now, bro, you're in a very interesting space. I will tell you this. Um, People on the outside might be like, bro, that's so boring. Email campaigns, or who cares? Bro, email campaigns are awesome. I'll tell you why. Because every single email, you get to see what was the open rate and the click rate. A lot of designers don't get to know that how their designs impacted, or there's so much gap between their design and the final thing that they don't have a good enough idea. Your advantage, Paras, is you know the ROI of your design, right? So keep that in mind always. Second, um, really good at UI, graphics, and Figma. That's awesome because that's your foundation. Figma component library for these emails, yeah, do it. But I would say your roadmap, Paras, would be take every single. Firstly, you're in a good position, right? So I wouldn't say try to switch or something. Like stay in this till you can, right? Till it's fun. Take every single thing you worked on so far, dump it in a big fig jam, pick the top 10% of this, right? So let's say you've done, I don't know if I'm way off, but like 40 emailers. I don't know if you've done 100 or what, but 40 emailers you've done. Now 10% of that is 4 emailers. Let's pick 5%, right? Let's pick the 2 or 3 best emailers that you've done according to you. Get the open rate, get the close conversion rate. Try to publish this as a case study. And again, you don't have to publish as a case study, but make, let's say, a 10-page slides, a story of before company wanted to connect with the users, they weren't able to. Typical average open rate is this much. Our challenge was to make something that looks awesome and exceeds. This is what I did. This was the outcome. Have this at least as a PDF or PPT such that if you ever get on a call with a client, or if you're applying somewhere, you will have this to show. Publish this as, bro, I don't know if you've seen on LinkedIn, there are people who publish these kind of case studies of, oh, this email report got these many clicks and this thing above our typical average. This is how we did it. Now, again, maybe it's confidential. You can't share that. But you want to switch to UI UX design. This is you ask me what's the roadmap. This is your path, this specific thing. Because, yeah, you have metrics. The next thing I would say, very practical, start doing websites. Figure out the AARRR flow. So acquisition, activation, retention, referral, revenue, right? That's your immediate next step. And yeah, make more designs. You're good at one thing, figure out what's the next thing you can do. Yeah. Yeah, and join the cohort. If you really want to do more product design stuff and you have this foundation, bro, we would love to have you in the cohort, mostly because you have this experience. And I know that with a little bit of coaching, with the right this thing, you'll be able to do a lot. So if definitely open to that, right? We've got a couple days till it happens. But yeah, cohort would be a great step for you. Link link in the description. Check it out. Okay, guys, I'm gonna wrap up soon. Shrishti says, "Hi, Shrishti. As someone transitioning into UX design, advice for strong portfolio that stands out. Beginners with limited uh, professional experience." Now, Shrishti, if I remember correctly, you're from an architecture background. Now, I might be totally wrong. I might be mixing up. We'll talk about this in the cohort. But from your architecture background, or before this, we were talking to somebody who had email design background. Find the one thing in your current background that connects to product design. That people talk about a roadmap. It's really a bridge, right? It's a bridge to cross. In your case, let's assume your architecture background. The thing that okay, yes, you are. I remembered correctly. The thing that the architecture background has taught you a lot is process, iterations, and then just that grind of going through that messy thing where you emerge out of the other end. Right? So you have a strong creative work ethic, let me just say, as an architect. You also have a good sense of process, right? Like personally, we've had a lot of architects, by the way, in the background, in the cohort. If I had to give an interesting stat, I think something like 9% or 12% of last cohort, they were all architects. I might be wrong about this, I don't remember. But yeah, architects, my observation, amazing at process, and they don't give up very easy. So that's your advantage. Outside of that, I know you're enrolled in the cohort, so we'll figure the rest out. My immediate thing would be take your current background, find the bridge that connects you, the stuff you already know, that becomes a bridge into new projects. In your case, new projects, like I would say the starter projects are typically websites and apps. The thing that you might not have really good, there's no guarantee that architecture makes you good, is visuals. Like I have observed folks from NIF, folks from architecture background, unless they had that interest to really improve their visuals, it's not guaranteed, right? Like NIFT folks, a lot of them don't have good visuals, but then it's because they've been working so much in textiles and fabrics, or let's just say technical stuff. So visuals would be a strong one. Connecting your past experience and really leveraging that, another one. Starter projects, we all have to do starter projects, websites and apps. Yeah, that's the foundation, and then we'll figure out the rest. Yo, what's up, Jay? C6, feeling disconnected from industry, no clue how to upskill. Working with no senior PM or PD solo designer. Jay, DM me, bro. Drop me a message on WhatsApp. Let's figure out. If you're in Bangalore, come to the place. Let's come to the office. We'll We're going to do some sessions and stuff, but we'll talk about that. Other than that, working in the PM with no senior PM or PD, find out who the most interesting person in the company is and see how you can spend time with them, right? That's a very direct hack. Even if you have no reason to talk to them, like you don't exactly involved in that project, find the person that's most interesting in your company, find an excuse to spend more time with them, right? So even if you're feeling stagnated in your current thing, I'm sure there is something you can find that would be interesting that brings the excitement back to work, right? That's one thing I'll say. um Other than that, bro, cohort 10, we're going to have some stuff for alumni. Hopefully some of that will help. Disconnected from the industry. um See, it's very personal to me because I'm also feeling quite disconnected with the Bangalore scene because I've been away for so long. Um, I would say every small step counts, right? So even if you're messaging one designer and saying, "Hey, what are you working on these days? Last we spoke was 6 months ago. What have you been working on since then?" Right? You have some cohort connections that you can do that with. Disconnection, the way to solve disconnection is not huge steps, it's one small step. Message one person, bro. In the next 2 days, message one person, have a conversation with them, get on a call if you want, right? And then do that again the next week, right? So really start with something really small. Besides that, yeah, I would say events and meetups. Find one that you can go to, but then really it's not about the content, it's about the connection, right? You'll meet people there that maybe you follow on Twitter. You might, I mean, that's more big city stuff. But yeah, bro, at least cohort. I really want you to hit up some cohort 6 folks that you haven't spoken to. And you might be thinking, bro, I haven't spoken to them for like 8 months. Why will they reply to me? And like, bro, I totally get it. Still do it. Still do it, right? Um, it's totally okay. Start some reconnection, right? Start talking to some people. Bring back the sense of wonder. Bring back that sense of what is something different going on that I don't know about. Or just the wonder, I said this earlier. I wonder why other people are not feeling disconnected. That should be this thing. I wonder why other people are not feeling disconnected. Go like a detective and go figure out what other people are doing that's so interesting or not interesting, right? At least you'll be able to relate on the disconnection part leading to a connection. Okay. Vikas, I don't know your question, bro. I would have, but I don't see it. Oh yeah. What do you think on the market in India for UX writer, content designers interested in that field of UX with some level of experience in the same, but hardly see any position at entry level? Because I'll be honest with you, bro, it's not a very active role. So if I had to show you UX writer positions, not to say it's zero, right? Every once in a while, I'll look at some companies and they're looking for a UX writer, but it's become or it's always been a little bit of a niche skill. So let's see, UX writer, India, and I'll have to remove the experience level thing. So there is a lot of technical writing roles. Now, usually this is things like, now it's close to UX. I mean, you know this, you're in the industry. It's close to UX writing. Okay, wait. You said you're interested in field of UX, some level of experience in the same. The thing is, um, there is not a lot of entry level positions of UX writer. And see, content writer, anyway, a lot of people feel like they can use ChatGPT. Not to say that ChatGPT is perfect, but at least it does an okay job, right? Like, let's see. See, I don't have a very good answer to this, but I will say it's tough, bro. Um, UX writer, it's a experience position. There's hardly any entry level roles. Entry level, what you have to do is build enough of a portfolio such that you can get UX writing and some other type of work. Content designers, though, bro, I will say this: the number of YouTube channels in India are just going up, right? Really, I want you to think about this. Today, like 10 years ago, there were people making video apps. Today, those same people, there isn't going to be another video app that replaces TikTok or YouTube. Those same people are now doing channels, right? They're doing channels. So, in some ways, what I'll say is content design is actually much, much bigger than UX writer. That's my opinion. Um, Although the term content designer is not so common, typically what people find is just graphic designers or someone. But if you're interested in this, I would say if you can find a good way to use design process and more of creative direction to create content for, let's say, YouTube videos. For example, I know that um, my friend and co-author Varun, he's got a bunch of YouTube channels, and yes, their primary hire is video editors, but guys, the you know what the effort it takes to make each one of these videos is almost the same effort as it would take to design an entirely new feature of an app, right? This is a really, really user centered design, um, to a bit of a crazy extent, right? So, as a content designer, I would say this is the field you can get into, right? So, you're not saying I'm like video editing would help, I would say. Content, writing a good, interesting, hook, story, figure out retention. There's a lot of sources around that. There's huge scope here. Content design, probably bigger than UX writing. UX writing, technical writing exists, things like documentation, but entry level, not really. Yeah. What's up, Ayush? How are you? I'm doing good, bro. How are you? Just about to close the stream, but I'm close to the 3 hour mark. So just wondering, should I just hit that? If there's any questions, though, I think we're we're through most of them. And designer says, "What's up, designer? I joined a startup as an unpaid intern, feeling stuck. How do I prepare myself for a better job? Currently, don't have much experience yet. How much experience is preferred for a good full time role?" So, designer, so my suggestion, see, unpaid intern, I'm not going to judge you, okay? Straight up. You did what you had to. There's nothing wrong with that. At least you got some hands on experience. That's better than imaginary experience. But don't do an unpaid internship for more than 2 months. Because beyond that, either they should be paying you or you should have enough confidence in your skills using that to move to another one, right? So, my suggestion, be selfish at this point. If they're not even paying you money, at least they should be paying you experience. And what I mean by that is something that you can take credit for, and take credit for it and find somebody who will actually pay you for that, right? Very practically, what I mean by this is whatever you're designing, take full credit for it, put it in your portfolio, have these case studies, right? Go deep into that. How much experience is required? I will say it's more about the volume of work rather than volume of time. You know what I mean by that? Like, even if in a less time you do a lot of work, that's useful. But there are people with 2 years of experience who've not done a crazy volume of work. So, my suggestion, I won't even say it's bad that you're doing unpaid. At least you're doing work, bro. That means you're focused. You're doing something. But really take credit. Be selfish at this point. Make case studies out of this. If not possible, at least minimum, okay, before the unpaid internship and after the unpaid internship, you should not be at the same place. You get what I mean? So your chances of getting the next one or another project or making another connection with somebody who might eventually give you a project, should the chances should be higher now that you've done this. If they're not, figure out how you can do that, right? If you've not gotten money from this, you need to squeeze something else. There needs to be some other juice that you get out of this. Figure out what that can be. It could be a connection, it could be a referral, right? This person could refer you to somebody else and maybe that person pays you. It could be you post this work, and so based on the quality of that work, you get some input. Yeah. Cohort 11, bro, it's going to be in June. I think it's June. I would, I mean, cohort 10, you should probably enroll now, but yeah, 11 will be in June. Rohit says, any plans for a cohort focused on this trend of design engineering? Now, I'll be honest, Rohit. I'm not a 10Kita is not exactly a platform. Like I don't want to have 10 courses for every single category, right? I cannot become Udemy. Let's just say. So personally, I don't have an interest in design engineering yet. So no, the answer is no. We're not going to do it. But the minute I do have personal interest, I will at least make a YouTube video about it. And this year, I do plan on going a little deeper into going full stack, right? Like designing and developing products. Yo, Sabil, what's up? 2019, 21 stream vibes. That's awesome, bro. That's awesome. See, if I remember correctly, you worked at a design agency back then. Again, I might be wrong, but yeah. Thinking of enrolling to cohort 10. Nice. I hope you do. We'll see you inside. We final spots remaining though. We're starting on 18th. Yeah. Hmm. Very technical question, Kritik, which is facing issues with systems. Like there was the screen I made using existing components. Manager wants to see something new. Is it a wireframe problem? Or is it that, you know, design ideation, there's an issue between good complex UI and over engineering? Kritik, I would say, as tempting as it is to find a process that can solve it, I think a simpler way to solve this could just be a better connection with the human. So, manager says he wants to see something new. Where did that thought come from? Now, we assume that it's because the work wasn't good enough, but then that's not usually true. It could be because some priorities on the level above the manager changed, or the requirements were not clear. You designed it and now they are clear, and so it requires some change. I would say the solution, you it's probably not an issue with you, but find it's probably not a technical issue to be solved. It's more of a connection issue, right? Connect with the person and see if you can anticipate some of these changes. Like approach it with a sense of curiosity, which is, I wonder what I did not anticipate. I wonder what feedback did the manager above my manager give that I didn't think about. Yeah. What's up, Divya? Engineering background. I'd be earning more if I continue to be in my domain down the line in 5 years. Which engineering domain are you in? Because if you feel so, great. The second question you would ask yourself is, do I, let's assume the money is awesome in whatever you do because you're a hard worker, you'll figure it out. What do you actually want to do? What would you be happy with? Because I can tell you this, down the line, 5 years, great. What about down the line, 10 years? Now, again, I don't want to scare you because obviously nobody can predict. But if you enjoy it, you're not even going to think about it, right? You'll be in your zone. Of course, we all go through challenges and like existential crisis of fuck, am I doing the right thing? But yeah, if you think so, that's awesome. I will say this though, Divya. I don't know which engineering BG or like which discipline. I will say try to be closer to the edge. That always helps. Which is, let's say if you're in mechanical, bro, you don't want to go compete with the people who have 30 years of mechanical experience. You want to find what's the edge of mechanical that nobody else is doing. Um, yeah. Okay, guys. I'm gonna wrap up. So applications are open for the cohort. If you guys are interested, definitely now is the time to take some action. Mm, I will show you. I was gonna go through this, but nah. You'll see this when you join the cohort. We're just putting together some additional extra resources. These are not the core resources, these are the extra resources we're putting together. This is not the, this is kind of the curriculum, but like parallel to it. We're not, like, this is just supplemental resources. But yeah, something you will get access to. Join the cohort. Okay, I wanna hit the 3 hour mark since we made it this far. So a few more questions. Kanika says, shifting our careers from architecture to UX at age 33, what would you suggest to start at? Internship or full-time roles? Experience as an architect, but boot camp experience in UX? Hmm. See, I would say ideally you want to get full-time roles if possible, but at the same time, since you are making a career shift, there is a the slight negative is that internships won't pay well, right? Because again, it's internships are typically meant to be entry level. So my suggestion, since you have already some experience in architecture, take the boot camp stuff that you've done, take the projects, create a showcase. So when I say showcase, could be a case study, but ideally what I'm thinking about is a visual and process showcase. You probably have connections in the architecture industry because you've worked in it. My suggestion would be hit up your old architecture colleagues, coworkers, managers you worked with before, and do freelance via that network. And when I say freelance, ideally the bootcamp case studies or the showcase that you put together should give enough of a proof that, oh, clearly Kanika can do, I don't know, websites or whatever it might be. I'm going to say websites because I guess most freelance, they kind of need websites. Although later it's whatever the client asks, it's more about the connection. Have that proof of work. Take your existing connections to folks in architecture, find a new connection via them. So get a referral. And for a couple of months, I would say, yeah, you can try directly applying to full time roles. If you get one, awesome. But in the meanwhile, activate your past connections and let them know you can now do this. Because I'll tell you this, most architects, the thing is architecture very technical but also a creative role. So very likely that within their network they have interesting people doing other creative fields. And so something that you have that an early grad does not, like your competitive advantage, is you have that architecture network. How you tap into it, how you reactivate, it will feel a bit awkward reaching out to coworkers you haven't connected with in 2 years, 3 years, or even college, maybe. I don't know. But really, they are one or two connections away from recommending you because they're like, oh, she's an architect. Of course, she has process. Of course, she can do it. But beyond that, the bootcamp case studies are the extra proof that you can do it right now, that you've done this recently. And then, so I would say doing a few of this case studies, showcase more, that would be the path that I would suggest. Yeah. So rather than internship, I would say freelance. But then really, you really need to use advantage. Like, I know folks who are in their 30s feel like it's a disadvantage to be switching this late. But actually, let's flip that, right? The advantage you have is you have 10 years of connections. Even if you feel like I didn't fully, you can always re engage it, right? Like talk to one person, talk to two people, make it a bit of a habit. That's a huge advantage you have compared to an early grad, right? So make use of that, figure out how to make uh, use of that. And similar question of graphic design to this thing, I would say even better. But here's the thing, you really need to prove the visual part of it, right? If you as a graphic designer is not able to do something that looks better than somebody who's 1 or 2 years experience as started in UI UX design, then that's bad. So from your graphic design, pick your top 2%, top 5% of your work, do more of that, and then try to maintain that same bar of quality for product. The expectation on you as a graphic designer is amazing visuals. Yeah. What's up, Ahmed? Freelance graphic designer, UI UX, front end development knowledge, nice, motion graphics. I enjoy all these skills but struggle to focus on just one. Why do you need to focus on just one? You don't need to focus on just one. Now, for a job perspective, I can understand because typically they want to hire a specialist who does that one thing. But my suggestion, specifically for the job, find something that has good coworkers that you enjoy working with, good projects that you can eventually take credit for and add to your portfolio. Everything else, I'm only seeing advantages. I think this is awesome that you can do all this. But to really prove it, you need to, with this combination of skills, do something that is better than somebody who has just, you know, not a combination, just one or two of them. Right. So with the combination, it's up to you to find out what's the benefit of combining these together. But you're in a favorable position though. Yeah. Hmm. Okay. Wrapping up in the next 3 minutes. What's up, Soham? Struggling to choose between college degree and few job offers. College won't let me work full time. For job offers, I'm getting all something that I can't deny. Um, yeah, bro. The positive, the silver lining is it's a temporary problem. Soon, college will not have that grip on you. What I will just say is if you can say fuck the college and just do it anyways, that would be great. Full time, yeah, you can't work full time, obviously. You have to attend classes and stuff. Find the part time, find the flexible one, find the remote one that you might be able to make it work. Or honestly, I would say just have the patience. You're probably a couple months or maybe a year or two away from grad, my guess. It's okay. The fact that you have job offers now, it's awesome. Just make sure that you also have job offers by the time you're done with college, which means continue working. Continue working, squeeze out as much time as you can, even though, unfortunately, your primary focus does have to be college right now. Yeah. Okay, folks. Gonna wrap up. Thank you all for joining in. Applications open for a little bit longer. If you're in Bangalore, by the way, even more awesome because we now have an office. We're planning to do some studio stuff. Um, Last day to apply. It says 5th January, but actually I need to update this. I need to check with the team whether we actually have to close this because no, we're open. I mean, I'm doing this stream, so if any of you apply today, I'll definitely consider it. But I just need to check with this team whether this can be extended for a couple days. Uh, yeah, we are starting on 18 Jan though, so it's not tentative anymore. It's been fixed. Those of you who are enrolled, I recognized a bunch of familiar faces. Looking forward to seeing you in the cohort and maybe IRL. Guys, I'm seeing a few more questions come in. Unfortunately, you've got me at the end of the stream. I'm going to have to drop out right now. But let's do this again. Let's do another one sometime soon. And see you all soon. See you around. Bye bye.